Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Risen Esports Divine League. This is week 3. I am your caster, Doctor, being joined by the lovely Coleslaw. I don't care about anybody's thoughts on the food. The man is great, and we are going to be bringing you all of the action tonight between SB Mirage and Black Mamba Esports. Both teams 2-0. But before we get into the teams, how you doing tonight, Coleslaw?
I'm doing really well. I'm looking forward to a match where the acronyms for these two teams are going to be giving us a really tough time. It's SBM and BM. Don't get them confused. One's Mirage, one's Black Mamba. I think we can sort this out, you know? I think I'm ready for this. And I mean, good League of Legends, 2-2-0 teams in Divine League. Like, this is for the top in the group. What could be better?
Not a whole lot, especially once it comes to League of Legends. You love seeing two leaders of the pack clashing, putting their own spin on things. We're into draft phase already, I believe. We do have our bans completed. Pretty standard, I would have to say. The most questionable one so far is going to be the Rengar, I feel.
Yeah, it's always a target ban when you see something like that. Pro Dark, not an avid Rengar player, but does have a good number of games on it in solo queue. 128 to be exact this season. So it's kind of one of those things where you see that and think, maybe we want to ban that away. You know, if this guy's a solo queue Rengar player, it's a little scary. It's not a fantastic pick in a competitive environment, but still better safe than sorry with that kind of thing. Banning away one trick is always a viable strategy until you're at the absolute highest levels of play. So I think that's what they're going for there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unheard of to see a Rengar pop off in a 5v5 type match, especially with how squishy a lot of the champions are now in, play. And so when you do ban away something like that, though, you do need to give up a little bit. And so far, they gave up the Thresh Wukong combo. But I gotta be honest with you, I am gonna ask you this question. Would you rather have Thresh Wukong or Ezreal Volibear? Because I know my answer.
Well, there's a pretty easy answer to this one, and it's that Ezreal and Volibear are both just stronger champions. You know, they are really good in the meta. They're both priority picks. Being able to snag both of them as red side is pretty fantastic. However, we do see some big, fresh gameplay from Lil Muzi, the support. And that means that, if you have a Thresh one trick, we saw the Rengar ban. Thresh has 268 games. That's way more. So I think they're picking that up. It's as much a priority pick as much as it is a takeaway. It's still a solid option, but if you were thinking that Ezreal and Volibear are better, I would agree.
I definitely think that the option is still there. Looking at the pick ban so far, it also leaves Yuumi still available on the table. While Blue Side has already selected their support, you can get that dreaded Ezreal Yuumi combo. And then you put Yuumi on a Volibear too. That is exceptionally scary. We do have the Malphite being picked up too, which I feel is super interesting. Leads me to believe it's going to be a jungle Volibear.
Yeah, some interesting questions to ask. The Malphite, it's an answer to Wukong is the idea. It lanes just fine, and then it gets that really hard, reliable engage. I think even more questionable is the fact that we see the Misfortune locked in as a counter to the Ezreal with Varus completely available. I'm just not sure about prioritizing MF when Varus is there. He's overall generally just a stronger pick, and he's one of the few champions that's known to actually kind of be able to win lane and put kill pressure onto the Ezreal. The Chain of Corruption is so valuable in that matchup.
Yeah, they have to really believe in that Thresh Misfortune combo, having that crowd control damage burst combo. They do go ahead and ban the Yuumi. And a neat little statistic that I found out today that I did zero legwork on, I found it through a Reddit thread. Jungle Volibear currently has 0 losing matchups. Like, literally 0 losing matchups to any single jungler in the game, with the closest matchup being Mundo, actually, at I believe it was 50.07%, still in favor of Volibear.
Yeah, and Best Turtle VN has been playing the Volibear jungle a lot recently, so I think it'll be interesting to see it work. It's not something we've seen pulled out at the highest level of play just yet. Can't think of any pro games where we've seen it, but it may get there pretty soon. We might be a little ahead of the curve here. These teams more eager to adapt, and I think it'll be interesting to see how it works out. I think it's going to be against the jungle Wukong with the Mordekaiser locked in. It looks like they've decided to send that into the jungle to get a better top lane matchup.
which is super smart counter picking. It takes away essentially the reason for the Malphite pick. You know, it was picking it into this heavy AD, character. They did a little switching up there, put him against an AP character now. So part of Malphite's kit now just completely redundant. Not going to be getting as much from that armor stacking, but the Lux support also coming through. I feel like Redside had a really smart draft for 3/5 of the draft, and then there's 2 picks there that you just kind of shake your head at.
Yeah, I mean, Lux support's interesting. If you're comfortable on it, it's there. I think they've got plenty of magic damage if they're going to be last picking Sylas anyway, and that's not quite necessary. There's a lot of other picks that do better into Thresh. But it has merits. It has the range. It can punish a Misfortune. She's immobile. She's squishy. If you catch a Misfortune with a binding, then she's likely going to die 9 times out of 10. The shielding will be really valuable on these tanky frontliners that they have. So it's not without any purpose, but definitely a slightly weaker pick. Same thing goes actually for the Sylas mid lane, I think. That's an answer to the Orianna. Not a perfect matchup there either.
I do like the Sylas pick overall, though. Having a lot of really strong ultimates to be able to steal away. You have the Wukong, the Bullet Time, the Shockwave, even the Mordekaiser Death Throne being able to stolen away. When you have a high damaging champion like the Sylas, I feel like it's super impactful once we get to these big all-out brawls around the objectives.
Yeah, and one very fun thing about the Mordekaiser ult being stolen by Sylas. Are you aware of how this works, Doctor?
I've never seen the interaction before, so no.
You can get a Death Realm Venn diagram.
Oh, no.
When Sylas Mordekaiser ults someone while Mordekaiser is Mordekaiser ulting someone, you actually get a 2v2 inside the Death Realm as long as they have some overlap. And it's just one of the craziest, zaniest things you can get in League of Legends. It's super hard to follow as a spectator, but when it does happen, you can expect we're going to be pretty excited. You're going to have to try and call that out. That's your challenge. And everyone else is going to have to try and figure out what's going.
I'm going to have to focus in my spectacles to see if I can catch those as they come by. And it would seem that my client broke, actually.
Yeah. Evidently, we were sitting in lobby for a very long time before this game. This is, while we're teaching you about League of Legends, let's teach you about the League of Legends client. If you exist in a custom game lobby, 45 minutes. It times out, your client breaks, you have to close your client entirely, restart it to get back into game.
All right, so we are going to be fixing that real quick. I'm reloading my client now. Thankfully, now that Riot has 2 mainstream esports titles, I can definitely fully expect them to fix one of them. But it's a coin toss to be which one. But while we do that, I mean, now that I'm back in the client now, but I do want to look at these compositions once again to try and take a step back from these lane matchups that we've been talking about for so long. When we talk about those big brawls around these objectives, we have 2 pretty, I don't know, would you call them similar compositions? Because Blue Side wants to be very active team fight wise, whereas I feel like Red Side doesn't really want to try and go head to head with it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this comp that we have with the Wukong, the Misfortune, and the Orianna is just really, really wombo heavy. It's going to be trying to engage, it's going to be trying to do a ton of damage and just death ball, basically. You send in the Wukong with a ball on him, Misfortune follows it up, you have a Shockwave, and you try and kill the Ezreal and the Lux, I guess. Whereas with a Malphite, Volibear, Lux, Sylas, you have crazy pick potential. I mean, sometimes you want to use that Unstoppable Force as an engage tool on the Malphite, and like it's a good team fight ultimate, but it can also be a good skirmish and kind of 2v2, 2v3, 3v3 type of team fight or fight ultimate where rather than trying to go for, both the backline carries, you can just use it in a scrap to get some damage down, guarantee a Sylas follow-up, a Lux follow-up, something of that sort, and use it in smaller fights. And I think that's really what you want to see from that composition more. They're going to struggle to deal with a Wukong that's deathballed on, but if they can get a couple kills ahead of time, then the power of this Volibear and just how unkillable he can be is going to be a win condition to a very extreme degree, and there's a lot of support for him. The luck shields are going to be valuable. There's another front line in Malphite. You have a Sylas to follow these things up, and Ezreal's really good at fending for himself. So I think they're looking more to skirmish, scrap, look, get picks, fight in the jungle, fight in the dark zones, just catch people off guard more so than go in for the 5v5.
Something that I want to see very much so is this Volibear Malphite ultimate combo on like a level 6 tower dive, because Wukong is not very tanky, especially early on. Does go for a much more aggressive style build, so if you can get to him when he's level 6, shove him under his own tower, use that Volibear ult to disable it for a couple seconds, and then just go all in with the Malphite, I feel like that's going to be a very strong tool to have.
Yep, I would agree. There's a lot here. I think the way it boils down a lot of the time with these comps, where there's lots of strong tools, there's lots of strong engage, there's lots of damage up front. It's about pulling the trigger first. It's about being at the objectives before they're up, getting priority on the river, getting the vision, and just going in before the enemy team can go in on you. If you're playing on the front foot, you're doing it much more effectively than if you're trying to disengage. If the Wukong is ulting defensively, if the Orianna is trying to use a bunch of summoner spells and her ultimate defensively, and Miss Fortune has to run away and never gets that opportunity to just lay down the bullet time and do a ton of damage, it's going to be a problem. And the same thing goes for this red side composition, where if Malphite doesn't get that good engage to start a fight, and instead it's kind of scattered, then you're going to get run over by this team fight composition. You need to be the ones that are on the front foot, playing proactively, playing to start things off yourselves.
And there's a lot of feast or famine champions across both teams here. You know, if Mordekaiser's not able to get ahead early, he's not able to do his job of that Death Realm assassin. Sylas, when behind, can feel kind of underwhelming because, yes, you're stealing ultimates, but if you're not doing a ton of damage with them, then it's almost like you're missing a champion. Lux, I feel, always does good because of how much money she can get from her support items. But Malphite is another champion. He's got 0 escapes pre-6 outside of Flash. If you can gank him early and fast and really run away with it, then he becomes a very squishy type target, especially since we've been seeing mostly AP Malphites lately. I don't expect him to build that this game because they really need a tank. But tank items can be kind of pricey. If he can't get to those items, then he's going to be very behind and not able to be that frontline bruiser buddy that Volibear is expecting.
Well, now that we're in the client draft, I had assumed something, and I think you just made the same assumption that I did, which is that the Malphite won't be going tank, or we assumed he would be going tank in the top lane. However, it actually looks like he has been flexed to the mid lane. It's a Sylas top and a Malphite mid lane, which makes a lot more sense because Mordekaiser into Malphite is one of the most terribly lopsided matchups in the game. The Malphite loses it and loses it incredibly difficult. Like, it's unwinnable. Terrible lane. But with Sylas in the top lane, Malphite in the mid lane, we're likely actually going to see the AP Malphite into the Orianna, and that works a whole lot better. And AP Malphite, though a little feast or famine, he does still do a lot of damage, and as long as he can get to 1 or 2 items, he can be a threat for this Miss Fortune. So, actually interesting. I missed that was something that was on the table, but now that it's available, I actually like this red side draft a little more than I did previously.
Yeah, I think that part of that may have been because they were like, oh, Wukong, pick Malphite for the top lane matchup. And then they're like, haha, we got you. It's Wukong jungle. And they were like, oh, well, we can do you one better. AP Malphite mid, as long as you can get to 2 items, it's going to delete, 3/5 of your squad. Orianna's not going to, be able to survive a full combo. Miss Fortune's not going to be able to survive a full combo. And jungle Wukong is even squishier than top lane Wukong. So he's just going to get exploded. And so I feel like the red side draft came together in a very nice, mind-meldingly tricky way.
Yeah, it's lots of kind of tricky flex picks. It's fun when you see teams pulling this out, saying, okay, well, we'll take the Wukong and flex between top and jungle. That's good. Malphite's a flex pick. Volibear's a flex pick. Sylas, though he was the last pick and always was going to be going top lane, can be flexed as well. So I think we're seeing that here. This is a good draft to explain the value of these picks that can go into several different roles. You can use that to get good matchups as you see fit. I think the one thing that we might see as well, and not as great of a lane, is that it still might not be terrible for Black Mamba Esports to just send the Mordekaiser mid. Orianna top not going to have a great time, and that'd be the reason that you wouldn't do it. But it's in the cards. We could see some lane swap shenanigans at some point here. I wouldn't be totally shocked by it.
And then that does get them that hard winning matchup. And I feel like Orianna is useful enough on a low econ that you can get away with something like that as long as the pressure is evaded. Because you know that Volibear is going to want to gank that long lane with a immobile Orianna in it. But I think that the hard win Mordekaiser might be worth it.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect it early on, but we'll see. It's all about how these teams want to play it out. I don't think Black Mamba Esports are going to feel pressured to win insanely quick in the early game. They do have some relatively decent scaling. It's a little hard to say which team comp is outscaling here. I think a lot of this will come down to execution, but neither team going to feel particularly rushed, I think. The Ezreal scales well, and so does the Volibear, but when you've got this Wombo teamfight comp, even if you feel like you're getting outscaled a little bit, there's just always that comeback potential of landing a 3 or 4-man Wukong ult, following it up with a Shockwave and a bullet time, and then you've won the game.
It does only take one, just like we are going to take one short break, folks, while we load into this rift. We got to get the Lego pieces together so we can put on the best show for you. So stick with us. We'll be right back, and stay tuned because we got plenty of League of Legends action ready and waiting. Welcome back, everybody. We're on the Rift now for SB Mirage versus Black Mamba Esports. I'm the Doctor, joined by the Zesty Coleslaw, and we are here on the Rift for Game 1.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how this is going to play out. We have a lot of different things going on in this game to talk about. Some really interesting picks that we don't usually see. The Wukong jungle when it normally goes top. AP Malphite mid. Volibear jungle. We've got the Silas top lane as a counter pick to the Mordekaiser. So lots of unique strategies here. And a lot of it's coming from SB Mirage in terms of what they're comfortable playing. So it'll be fun to see how these picks pan out. I think they've got two very interesting solo lane matchups. They've chosen both of these matchups with full knowledge. So in theory, with these two counter picks, they should be winning these lanes, but remains to be seen if they actually can execute on that.
Well, so it's funny because we were talking about how it was going to be the Malphite mid to dodge out the Mordekaiser, but they sent them top anyway to interact with the Mordekaiser, which we were trying to dodge. So I think that's super interesting. Nice little trade here onto Likeable.
That is really curious. I mean, he has the Comet, he has Doran Shield. Maybe they thought otherwise. Maybe they've just got their mid laner playing Malphite top, and it's fine. I guess that's what's going on.
I just think that's super curious when you think about how the matchup is, because one of the more disastrous matchups that you can think of is Mordekaiser Ornn, except Ornn actually does things. So when you think of it into the Malphite matchup, it's just that much worse.
Yeah, the perks of this Ornn matchup, if you have it, is that he's a little tankier. He can build an adaptive, or not adaptive helm, Abyssal Mask very early on in the game and not feel too bad about it. And as soon as he hits level 13, he's not killable ever again. And he just brings so much scaling to the table. Malphite, on the other hand, doesn't bring nearly as much. There's not that same scaling. He could build MR first, but it just doesn't feel quite as good. And there's just less to offer. And this isn't a game where Ornn was completely available. He was not picked or banned all the way through the draft. So instead of taking the Ornn top, they chose to take the Malphite. I'm not sure I agree with that. Maybe Steel City Warrior just more comfortable on Malphite than anyone else on this team is. So, I mean, you got to wait and see. Maybe they're just that confident. It's doing all right so far, actually up in CS so far against the Mordekaiser, so at least not a total disaster yet.
Yeah, and it was a second rotation pick as well for the team. We do see Best Turtle setting up for a potential gank here in the middle lane. The ping's going out, but big wave of minions here. Gonna come flying out, gets the flash for Flash, gonna eat a tower shot, but overall, productive gank.
Yeah, I think the issue there is the time spent waiting. If you were always going to try and just trade flashes, then you could have pulled that trigger sooner. Instead, Mr. VN spends a lot of time sitting in that bush, just leeching XP and not really generating any kind of lead.
Ooh. The Scuttle Crab going to go over to Best Turtle VN, who's now going to get Flash Flayed back in first blood over to Pro Dark, but now the fight is on. Nox Joe going to take one back for themselves. Going to be forced to heal and flash away, but Tegan is not going to be perturbed. But that red buff slow coming in huge for Nox.
Yeah, and so it's a 1-for-1 where we see the Volibear actually still ahead of the Wukong, at least at the time of that fight, stealing away the crab, a vital way to make sure that he didn't go down way too quickly, but still, it's a little bit of over-aggression there. We saw the Black Mamba bot lane with more priority. They were there first, and I think we just saw a bit of a misplay from Pro Dark is all I can really say there, because he could have gotten out and instead chose to go back in, dash back onto Nox Joe, and died for it.
Presty boy getting a little aggressive, gonna get taken super low, gets flashed out of Pro Dark being too good with the masterful flying Nimbus Cloud. Best Turtle, Vertle gonna pick up the second Scuttle Crab as well. So overall, Best Turtle's actually in a pretty good spot outside of that death.
Yeah, and I think you're actually pretty happy with it. I mean, it's a bit of a galaxy brain thing to say, you know, dying is just a quicker recall, but if you're able to make it a trade and you actually get the buffs onto your AD carry, you see Nox Joe with these double buffs as a result of that entire thing, it's actually not that bad. So this Volibear ends up with a double scuttle. He ends up in farm, up in experience, and actually out on top despite the fact that that first blood went to Prodark. So not a terrible trade for Mirage here, and I think they're quite happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to be a little bit concerned about the CS that differential that was building into that bottom lane, but Nox Joe able to bring it back pretty close. The kill gonna be pushing him over that equality level, bringing him onto par, but you also haven't seen Tegan back yet. You know, still sitting on all that first back gold, probably gonna be fishing for a BF sword, I imagine.
Yeah, and that's always what you want to do on Misfortune. The build is generally just go straight for those big crit items with a ton of AD. She gets enough attack speed from her W. The strut, just a super powerful steroid, and with it you can afford to avoid really going the attack speed items and just build AD so that your Qs chunk, your ultimate chunks, and you go from there. Actually, we do see enough money in inventory for the BF sword already, so both these bot lanes really do want to be recalling relatively soon if they can. It'll be up to these junglers to make something happen, but we have a pause.
So there was a bit of a lag, it seemed, and you could kind of tell because we saw Prodark go into that bottom lane river bush and just kind of hang out on a control ward. Um, so it was like a bit of a lag spike because you definitely don't want to be hanging out a control ward as a Wukong. You're not Evelyn.
Are you sure?
I mean, big and furry. Nope, not Evelyn.
I don't know, man. Maybe you just want to be seen. Just
maybe
hanging out?
we're hanging out with different Evelyns. Maybe, I guess is the thing. But I think this top lane matchup is actually going much better than we expected, to be honest.
Yeah, so far not a big lead. I think level 6 is when it goes from bad to worse in theory. The Mordekaiser ultimate, a really, really powerful tool. It says you can't leave, you're stuck here, and I'm now going to melt you. Leandry is also a pretty key item there. Once we see Kino with that, it'll be a lot scarier for Steel City Warrior, but I think the Mordekaiser probably should have been winning already, so yeah, I'd agree. It's working out at least thus far.
Ooh, big hook gonna connect there onto Nox Joe. The Flay's not ready just yet. Havoc's gonna get thrown back in, but so much damage coming back onto Little Muzi. And now Steel City finally eating some damage.
Yeah, that looked like miscommunication in the bot lane. Tegan doesn't have any mana whatsoever, so the hook was really nice. I mean, it was a sick hook. It connects. It feels really good. You take it, you realize, oh, we can't actually fight them, and you got to say my bad and back off and eat a whole lot of damage for your crimes. So unfortunate from Little Muzi. Had the right idea, just not at the right time. And it's going to cost him a recall, and Tegan's still sitting in this lane. The junglers, I mean, if I'm a jungler in this game, I'm thinking, or if I'm a bot lane in this game, I'm begging for my jungle, please come bot, I just want to reset. Like, this BF sword on Misfortune's so critical. The Ezreal already has tier, so it'd be very nice if you could make that happen, but Tegan just being held hostage in the bot lane.
Prodark was quite literally as far away as possible. There was not a way for him to be more
Yeah,
far
he was
away.
doing the crooks in the
top
red
side.
side jungle.
The only thing farther away is like the enemy nexus, and you're just like, come on, man! I'm trying to big my big sword. I really want to do damage now, but Tegan finally gonna get that opportunity, and it's gonna be BF sword double longsword versus Sheen tier.
Yeah,
now is probably Prodark's chance.
The sad thing there is that if you can get the BF sword versus tier, there's that window there where it's just objectively you're vastly stronger, right? And if you can like get a pickaxe instead of double longsword, you're feeling great about that. The Sheen actually gives some serious power to this Ezreal. Still not enough to outright duel a Misfortune, but it does mean that his Qs are going to be connecting. The poke is going to hurt a lot harder. So I think if you're this Mirage bot lane, you're quite content with the way your back timings have gone so far, because you've kind of avoided that part where Ezreal is at his lowest trough and where Misfortune is peaking on a BF sword. The extra 2080 from those two longswords, not nearly as influential as the Sheen is for the Ezreal.
You can also see that the CS differential in the bottom lane has now gone towards that SBM squad. You know, Nox Joe able to now be a couple CS ahead. It's going to equalize a little bit here, but was down almost an entire wave and now is able to bring it back.
Yeah, and that's just the perks of being gifted double buffs, a kill, and then being able to reset for your tier. Oh, this is going to get interesting. Fight.
You do see the engage coming in. Oppressed E-Boy going to go down to the Death Realm. The flash in from the Malphite, though, almost seals ProDark's fate. Eventually going to get traded in by Best Turtle. And so now it's Kino and Likeable versus the 3-man squad. 2-man Shockwave coming through. Kino's so tanky, he's going to flash over the wall and survive.
And wow, what a messy fight. It's unfortunate for Mirage that they were just a little too late to the Herald. We see that go down on the front end. ProDark secures it. And then it's just them being on the front end. They said, well, if we can't get the Herald, at least we can get the fight. We see Oppressed E-Boy in on the fight way earlier than Likeable was. And goodbye, Likeable.
Slow going to come through. Likeable going to get stunned up. Final flare coming through. And that is the last thing you see before just blackness. And so Best Turtle doing pretty good on the Volibear, showing up exactly when it matters, getting a little bit help from Havoc, but 1-for-1 on objectives as well. I think you're feeling pretty good about this Volibear.
Yeah, so far definitely working out. You can see he comes in with a lot of movement speed on these ganks. It's one of those things where with old Volibear, the counterplay to a Volibear gank was just walk away from him. This time, though, when he moves so fast and slowing him just gives him that cooldown reset, it's not quite that simple, you know? He comes at you very, very speedy, and if you have any kind of setup, like with a Sylas or with a Lux, just to make sure that the Volibear can get on top of his target, there's a lot of upfront damage, there's that really reliable stun that's going to connect, and that makes the gank really powerful. We see Likeable blowing flash and just going down anyway, so working out very well for Mirage so far. I think the one thing they have to worry about is this topside matchup, because we see this Mordekaiser slowly ramping up.
Yeah, now has that Haunting Guise, is starting to put down some really, dangerous damage numbers. Being able to clear entire minion waves in about 2 spell casts is really strong. Does have a couple plates behind him as well. Can't be much longer for the full Leandres either, sitting on 1,300. I forget the exact combined cost to go all the way up. I want to say it's like 15 or 1,600, so just about there.
Yeah, and one thing, though, to bring up about this top lane is that part of winning this matchup for Mordekaiser involves actually trying to freeze the wave closer to your base.
All right, Shockwave coming through from the Sylas. Likeable's going to try and use their own, but it's not enough. Best Turtle, with a little help from his friends, Havoc, going to be able to get the takedown there. And meanwhile, on the top side, Shelly going down, picking up first brick, and everything is kind of not in any one team's favor.
Yeah, it's this cross-map play. I'll get back to my lane freeze discussion at some point here, because we have another gank bot lane. Get out of there, Tegan. Oh!
Volibear's going to get stunned up after his Q, actually, which means tons of damage coming through. TP from Kino. Nox Joe, probably not long for this world, pops the Death Realm just to get the stat boost, but not going to try and press the tower. I think they should push it. Spend the bullet time, push that wave through. You kind of need to get more tower gold.
Yeah, so the crux of that play was we saw a gank mid lane, and that was answered with the gank top lane. As the Best Turtle VN on the Volibear showed up mid, we saw ProDark show up top, just drop the Herald, make that happen. So you see a trade of kill mid and a dragon for a top turret, and then it's that aggression where Mirage, they say, well, we can go towards bot side because we know that Wukong was top. The issue is that there's an answer and there's teleports coming in, and as soon as the Mordekaiser shows up, it goes from bad to worse. And you see Best Turtle just get a little too aggressive with the death sentence under turret. The Volibear goes down, and it's just a bit of a scuffed play from Mirage. They had the lead there. They got the dragon. They just pushed it a little too far, chased a little too close to turret, flew a little too close to the sun, we could say. It was the Icarus moment, and it ends up backfiring on them. And just like that, Black Mamba actually has a pretty sizable lead, at least in the gold.
I do like the play from Little Muzi there, especially throwing out that death sentence after the Rolling Thunder had completed from Best Turtle. Sorry, Thundering Smash as it is now. But so didn't get the reset, wasn't able to then try and use it point blank again. Didn't have any other options other than to just survive the tower, which on only a Cinderhulk can be a little difficult.
Yes, it can. And that's just the way it be sometimes, Doc.
I mean, personally, I don't think towers do enough damage early game. I think they should do more. As an 80 carry main, I'm tired of getting dived under tower. Just like Nox Joe is feeling pretty tired about this Wukong ultimate now. Getting a secondary activation, very strong, very hard to deal with. But it's actually Tegan who's able to pick up the kill secure there.
Yeah, and that's actually both summoners from Nox Joe for what was a death anyway, so that's a very, very costly play. He hadn't burned them on that TP play from Kino earlier, and I mean, that's one of those times where you just got to take the L and say, all right, you know what? Like, if they're going to send their team down here, I'm going to get Wukong ulted. I'm way too deep. I'm just going to go ahead and let myself die. Keep these summoners for a fight that matters more. We've got another Rift Herald spawning relatively soon. There's going to be a dragon up before those summoners are available again, so little greedy trying to use them, but sometimes that's the way it be, and now we're back even in kills too, so looking quite good for Black Mamba. They lost the early game, and
the long chain coming through, so much damage onto Likeable. Best Turtle disabling that tower as well with the ultimate. You'll love to see it. I love to see them combining a bear and an Ohm Wrecker, but now we're starting to see a little bit of a skirmish potentially about Herald, and they're just going to start it up. Black Mamba is all about that life.
yeah, with their mid laner dead, it's a bit of an interesting take. The issue is that Mirage has Nox Joe all the way down in the bot lane, and the Havoc just not quite close enough to take this fight. So it's actually a 4v3 despite Likeable being dead.
And I do like this. Death Realm onto the enemy jungler means that they can't smite the objective away, but Kino now going too deep. Going to be able to shield up, but he is not the one-man wrecking crew that we expect from a Mordekaiser, but they are able to secure the Herald in trade for the bot tier 1.
Yeah, and it's exactly kind of the same trade that we saw with the first Herald, where one person goes down for it, you lose some bot lane pressure, but you do still get the Herald. And with bot turret so low, I think you're looking to drop that mid lane to open up the map if you're Black Mamba. And though it's not an amazing trade, you're perfectly content to take it. The gold lead has disappeared, but Herald can help with that. It can knock down a structure, get you back in the lead once again. Interesting play overall. Likeable, you're getting destroyed.
Yeah, Likeable, learning what it's like to play against current Silas. Starts a fight at full HP, ends a fight at full HP. It's just what the champion does. Kind of unfortunate timing there on the death. We are going to see the engage coming in from ProDark, though. Kingslayer healing, very strong. Gets the second activation of the Cyclone, forcing the flash out of your pressed E-Boy. And we are going to still have a teleport to the bottom lane. Malphite showing up onto Tegan, who is just a squishy beachgoer in the post-coronavirus world. And just like that, we do see the double kill down in the bottom side, just as the dragon spawns as well.
That's a sad moment if you're a Little Muzi. You're yelling, take the ladder and follow me, I can get you to safety. And as soon as Tegan clicks on it, Steel City Warrior just goes ahead with the unstoppable force, hits them both up. There's a bear there for good measure, and that's a very free double kill. Pushed a little too far up for Black Mamba. They're going to lose a dragon. It's now soul point for Mirage here. They've got 3 out of 3 dragons so far, and that's a very early soul if they're able to get it. And a clear way to kind of give themselves a more dependable scaling advantage. If it's not quite obvious who's going to outscale the team with the dragon and soul, that's the team that outscales.
Especially when it's one such as strong as that Earth Drake. I do know a lot of people don't feel super good about it, but it is a infinite shield, essentially. Every couple seconds you get a regenning shield. It's for a couple hundred HP. That's one, auto attack from Misfortune. That's one death sentence. That's one, smash from Mordekaiser. And, all of these things can make the important difference.
Yeah, and when you have 2 champions who are going to be going full tank, if you're able to secure that soul, it's going to be giving you 12% resistances, and that's a non-insignificant number. It's not amazing, it's not game-winning, but it can just make these champions that much harder to kill. A big Volibear who's even just that much more difficult to take down can be a huge problem. And that's something that Black Mamba are going to need to be cognizant of. It's kind of do or die at every single dragon until the final soul point. If they're able to get the next 3 dragons, it'll still matter when that 7th one spawns. So they're going to have to be paying attention. They're going to have to be playing cleanly. They have to get 4 out of 4, whereas Mirage, that is, they just got to get 1 out of 4. They just got to get it once. They can mess up once or twice. They can give a dragon. They won't care as long as they can get the soul eventually. And that's the pressure of playing against a team that's able to secure all of these dragons early on.
If Black Mamba are able to get the soul, though, that means they have 4 Earth Drakes. So that is, I believe, if my math is correct, 24% resistances, correct?
Yeah, and that's a lot. That's some resistances, Doctor.
That's just a couple. But, I mean, you know, when you take these non-tanky champions, like the Wukong and the Thresh, like, they'll have some tank stats, but then you get 24% on top of it. All of a sudden, you're actually tanky. Like, you're hitting tanks level stat bars. And so, you know, it kind of changes the dynamic there. But like you said, they have to win 4 fights at that dragon, and they can only lose 1. So now is really the time for this team fight composition to really light up.
Yeah, and it's not even like a matter of the fact that they couldn't contest the dragons. I think Kino's in trouble here, Doctor.
He's going to get the ultimate down onto the Volibear, but Volibear's surprisingly sustain heavy, is not going to go down in this one death realm. But yeah, it's kind of tough to win a 1v4, even as Mordekaiser.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of Volibear being a very strong dual champion. I think if you're Kino and you wait just a little longer to get the Death Realm onto the Havoc, maybe that works out a little better. If you can get that Lux in there, you can try and trade 1 for 1, but just hard to make that happen, especially when you're sitting on this Bramble Vest. I'm not sure about that item, Doctor. It's there, but on Mordekaiser?
So it works against the Ezreal, who's going to be picking up a Death Stance, and the Volibear, who has sustain in his W. It's not huge, like, game-changing Kingslayer sustain, which is also pretty bonkers. I can't believe I forgot about Sylas, one of the most difficult to deal with healers. But
yeah,
so 3 out of the 5 members are healing a lot. So it makes
reduction.
sense.
I like healing reduction. It's a good stat to have. It's just, is the brand best on Mordekaiser?
Huge hook gonna go ahead and land onto Nox Joe. The Flay Cyclone combo too big. They get the teleport out of Kino, but first dragons on the board. 45 seconds still, so it'll be tough for Nox Joe to get back in time.
Yeah, I actually think he does get back in time. This is unfortunately a little too early for Black Mamba. The dragon's not up for another 35 seconds. Nox Joe will have 20 whole seconds to get to the dragon. And you see Black Mamba's they're doing a reset right now. They're recalling with the Soul Point Dragon on the map in 20 seconds. That guarantees that they're actually going to be late to the river. And with Pro Dark literally being caught out recalling to the base, they are way behind the curve on this.
They're losing all of their hard-earned vision. That was really weird. It looked like the Arcane Comet from Steel City went flying all the way from bot lane to, I'm presuming, Wukong.
Yeah, it was because of the shard followed him all the way to the base.
It's just so odd. But now we're seeing potential team fight breaking out over, like you said, the Soul Point.
And there's no Cyclone available. It was used, and Ezreal respawned and got back on the map, but the Cyclone is not available. So that pick actually may be costing Black Mamba here, and they're way too slow to get to this dragon. It's going down.
Yeah, already super low. They do have multiple members on it. 800. The red team secures the dragon. That is Soul Point, and a huge unstoppable force coming on through. Double kill for the mid lane. Nox Joe picking up another one, and Kino, not enough of a beast to pick that up. Ace coming through. That's a triple for Nox, and instantly the team moves on to the Baron.
And what a swing. You're looking at it saying, okay, well, they have a kill. They're in the river. They've got the vision set up. All they got to do is stick around and they can take the dragon. Instead, we see Black Mamba reset. They're late to the fight. They try and force it because they know they can't give it up, but they're just not in position to contest. They have to anyway, and it costs them dearly because as soon as that Mountain Drake goes down, it's a soul, and then Steel City Warrior finds the engage right after that, and it's a 5-for-0 Life Doctor. It's not even a close fight. They just got engaged on, and they got destroyed.
And what's really unfortunate is you can look across to the left side of the screen here, and barring Wukong Cyclone, because we know that that wasn't available, we still see Shockwave available, Bullet Time available, the Box available, which means all three of these high impact abilities were left unused in that team fight.
Yeah, and this is what we said during draft. It's about being able to pull the trigger first. It's not necessarily about finding the perfect engage. You just need to find the engage in the first place. And when there's no Cyclone available for Black Mamba, they're really running low on reliable engage tools. You can go fishing for a Shockwave, but that's pretty slow, and that's not always a great way to make things happen. And you see, while Likeable's trying to make that go down, Steel City Warrior just pulls the trigger a little sooner, and it is Mirage that come out very much so on top. And at this point, I mean, they're just looking to close out this game.
Yeah, and this is kind of...
You have a Baron.
Oh, we see Cyclone in the backside. Huge wombo combo coming through. The Bullet Time onto multiple members. And now we see Mirage on the run. We get the flash in. Kino's going to take down Turtle. But now Oppressed E-Boy is going to trade 1-for-1. He does have to win this 2v3 with a little help from his friend's support. But he's got so much healing. The cut is not enough. Havoc is in a 1v1 versus Kino. Just has to survive long enough, but it's not. Oppressed E-Boy now in an awkward 2v1. Not going to get the connection there. Tries to drop the chains down. Going to get it with the Kingslayer. And so now we see Kino doing his best to cut the wave, but there's still a cannon minion. It's just not enough.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, it was a great fight from Black Mamba. We said as well that when you have this Wombo engage comp, it only takes one good fight for you to come back. The issue at this point is that this Sylas has been fed so many kills, has so much tankiness from this Mountain Soul, that he doesn't go down. And despite the fact that he sees his entire team practically die at the front of that fight, it's a Sylas and just a Lux combo that are able to turn things back around and keep it from being a disaster for Mirage. And though they lose a lot of their Baron and their timing, they are still sitting pretty on this Soul. They can say, all right, we got a little greedy. Maybe we shouldn't clump up when we push. But we can try that again. There's no rush.
I mean, that was also just like an absolute cacophony of disaster striking. We saw Ezreal get hit by the Cyclone, try an Arcane Shift away, but got hit by the Death Sentence, and then pulled him in just close enough to get hit by the Shockwave, which then put him in range of the Bullet Time, and just everything going wrong, just like we see Tegan, flashless, trying to fight the biggest bear he's ever seen, and he just can't win that Grizzly fight.
Yeah, and you have to feel good, right? If it takes everything going wrong for a fight to go even, if just one thing goes right for Mirage at this point, they're feeling fantastic. So looks like we're just going to run this one again. They say, all right, we'll do this a second time. You have no misfortune, though. No Bullet Time to melt our front line. And that means that it's going to be an inhibitor for them with no contest out of Black Mamba.
Yeah, Shockwave in the box just now coming off cooldown as well. Havoc feeling themselves a little bit. Wait for the flash light binding. Not gonna quite connect, but we do see Elder Drake in a minute and a half. So you can already see Mirage are making the correct decision to go for the reset now. But Prodog's getting a little antsy, wants to interrupt that, make this back timing awkward for them.
Yeah, and this, I think, is a good, valuable lesson on timing backs around these key objectives. You don't want to reset 25 seconds before the objective. You want to reset, you know, a full minute and a half. That gives you plenty of time. We see Black Mamba, they're in the river now, but if you have to take it slow, if Mirage have to be patient and slowly position themselves into the river, they've got the opportunity to do so. And that's the big difference here, is that though this Elder Dragon is spawning and Black Mamba are in position for it, holding that position for so long is a struggle. They're not going to be able to rush down this dragon. And actually, we see the split push going on. The Sylas is just going to go ahead in the top lane with teleport available. That might make things interesting.
Oh, big hook gonna land on the Steel City Warrior. Now in a 3v4. Gonna go in with that unstoppable force. Interrupts the bullet time. TP completed from the Silas. And now wreaking havoc onto the rest of the team. Pro Dark gonna try and win this 1v2, but the bear is too strong. But oppressed E-Boy winning his own death throne that he stole away from Kino. And so now just gonna go down eventually. Kino cannot win the 1v3. And it is now 3 big members of Mirage walking it down mid lane with these super minions and only Little Muzi left to defend.
Yeah, and it's a fun idea from Black Mamba. They're a little desperate. They're looking for picks. Little Muzi is very dead, by the way.
Oh,
or not.
Maybe?
Yeah, okay, there it is. And now he's dead. They were looking for a pick. The issue is that they tried to get their pick on the full tank Malphite. It just took too long. The teleport finished channeling by the time Malphite was dead, and that meant that Tygan just got picked out. The Unstoppable Force gets the kill as soon as the Silas is there to follow up on it. And that means it's just a cleanup job for Mirage at this point. A few more kills to pad the KDAs. The Nexus is exposed, and they've got this game in the bag. Sort of. Slowly.
Eventually.
A little more damage. Kino gonna play Juke Simulator, but there it goes.
Yeah. Volibear was quite literally the only one hitting the Nexus at that point, and it's a little slow. He didn't go the Trinity Force build, so he's a little tough to beat that down. But really strong showing from SB Mirage there. You know, they got those, you know, power picks that we were talking about in the Ezreal Volibear, and it seemed like that was really all they needed. They took that Malphite that we were super questionable on and used it to great effect.
Yeah, and the Silas came out huge. I have to get back to that point I wanted to get to about the Malphite. I can explain why that lane went the way it did. And the reasoning is that on Mordekaiser, when you're in that lane, you want to freeze towards your turret and make Malphite walk up to CS. You want to put him vulnerable to ganks. You want to put him vulnerable to just getting poked out if he's trying to last hit caster creeps and get him uncomfortable. Instead, what we saw for much of that game was Kino pushing in over and over, always at Steel City Warriors turret. And then instead of being a terrible time where you're always trying to juke and dodge and just stay alive, Steel City Warrior mostly just has to focus on CSing under turret, and he's a good enough player that works for him. So we end up not losing the top lane for Mirage. You end up with a huge advantage on the Silas. You have power picks in Volibear and Ezreal, and that's more than enough to win this game, especially when you're able to secure 4 out of 4 dragons.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the ban phase that we saw in game 1, you have to wonder where the changes come in for Black Mamba, because they had a pretty tight ban phase, and I'm curious where they can slip that Silas in.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they prioritize. Maybe you drop the Fiddlesticks and say, you know, the tank mid Fiddlesticks not as much of a threat as this legendary Silas. We'll have to see, though. That's something that Black Mamba Esports are going to have to figure out for themselves. And when we get back into Game 2, curious to see what they do.
Yeah, so stay tuned, folks. We do still have more action for you. This is a best of 3. So stay tuned while we wait to see if Black Mamba can climb back and strike with precision and pull it back to a 1-1 scoreline. Welcome back, everybody. Here we are with SB Mirage versus Black Mamba Esports for the Risen Esports Divine League Week 3. I am the Doctor, being joined by Coleslaw. We just came off a heater of Game 1 with SB Mirage coming out quite dominantly on top.
Yeah, and it was a big team effort. There was a lot that went well for them there. They had a very effective Volibear jungle, a very effective Sylas mid, a Malphite top that actually laned into Mordekaiser surprisingly well, and a bot lane that just kind of held their own. They existed, they were on the map when dragons spawned, and that was really all they needed to do, because 4 out of 4 dragons means you get a soul, and just like that, SB Mirage were able to convincingly take Game 1. So we're into Game 2. We've got the same bans as last time, which means Black Mamba Esports not trying to adapt too hard. Maybe they think they can win it by just playing a little different.
We do see Syndra being banned away this game, which was different from Game 1. Actually, that's not true.
Nope. Same bans as... Yeah, it's identical. No, actually...
Ezreal got banned away.
Ezreal is banned instead of...
So we do see the Graves pick up there for SB Mirage. They're going to be having a very active jungler this time. They are choosing Graves over Volibear, though. I can't say I agree.
I think there is a world where that makes sense. Graves is a very strong pick. He's extremely powerful in this meta. He just likes to farm, and then he does a ton of damage. And if you can get him a front line, then he can deal with a Volibear reasonably well. The question I still have is, where's the Varus? He's not banned. He's the best AD carry in the game, right? Wait, why are we picking him? Doctor, where's the Varus?
I mean, we still have an entire first rotation. It cast a curse at it. Now we have to watch Varus slinging arrows for 30 minutes into Bard, who is just going to be trying to do the same thing back. But no, I do think that, like you said, it is one of the strongest picks you can pick up right now. Pairing it with the Thresh, I feel, is super strong. It makes your level 6 super dangerous with the amount of crowd control you can put out. With an Olaf pick, that's a lane Volibear.
Yeah, that looks like it's going to be top lane volley. That's a little more standard, at least as far as what we've seen. I think I don't like the Olaf pick there as much, because if you don't have it on the table, then you leave the question mark of, is this Volibear flexing? And you can pick up an 80 carry, which you already know the enemy bot lane, so if you pick an 80 carry, you're giving away no useful information. Instead, you're saying exactly who your top laner is, and now you're at risk of seeing your 80 carry role get pinched out here.
Do they, though? You've already banned away your own counter pick, per se, of the Ezreal. And then with your first rotation going Volibear, Bard, you didn't give yourself the opportunity to pick the strong pick. So, yeah, I mean, you kind of did this to yourself. What would the final ban be, you think, with already Ezreal, Aphelios, and Misfortune banned away?
I mean, you can just ban Kaiser or Xayah and really force Tygan onto something uncomfortable.
Sivir, though?
I mean, it works. If you think Sivir's the pick, then banning Sivir makes sense. It actually has amazing synergy with Volibear and Olaf, so I wouldn't disagree with it. Kassadin, a fine ban as well, though.
Just pick Sivir now. Easy.
Yeah, exactly. You say, you think we wanted to pick Sivir? That's actually a good idea. We'll take Sivir.
We were thinking Ashe, but Sivir's so much better. You get the speed boost from On the Hunt. You get excellent lifesteal with the Death's Dance build. You do tons of damage to very immobile targets because you can hit them with a boomerang blade and a bouncing blade. You can spell shield the hail of arrows or the piercing arrow or the death sentence or the flay or the box or the anything coming at you. And yeah, super strong pick. You are going to have to tip your hat and say thank you for reminding us.
Yeah, and I actually really like that here. I think I would have liked to have seen it banned away instead of the Kassadin, because Kassadin known to have some really bad lane matchups, and it's easy enough to just pick a mid laner who can give Kassadin enough trouble that it's not worth selecting him. Instead, banning him, I mean, it does give you flexibility in the mid lane that allows you to pick something like Rumble, where you don't have to worry about the Kassadin matchup. And so I don't think it's a terrible idea, but this does give a much better composition to the side of Black Mamba.
A very interesting composition coming out, I feel, from both sides. I feel like, again, we're seeing a very heavy team fight composition come out on blue side. Different team. It's Mirage this time versus Black Mamba, but something about these blue side picked bans make the teams think team fight. We're going to pick a bunch of, abilities that we can press R and win a team fight and then go from there. Not unlike their original draft, but it's just, there's no hard engage now.
Yeah, and they're a lot squishier, so there's a lot of things to consider. I think it's in the same vein. They just forgot what tanks are, and they forgot what engage was a little bit. I mean, you do have the Chain of Corruption, you do have the Equalizer, which can be a powerful zoning tool if nothing else. The Cannon Mirage from Gangplank, good at locking down areas as well, so it's not like they're completely out of tools to make this Black Mamba comp uncomfortable, but they are very squishy, they are quite vulnerable, and when you look at the Volibear, the Olaf, the Sivir, the Bard, there's a lot of things you need to be scared of. If you run the On the Hunt, you see a giant demigod bear and an unstoppable bearded axeman flying at your 4 squishy carries, that's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that site on any day of the week. So you do need to be a little bit concerned, but there's a lot of slow available. I feel like it's so tough to see how these two teams realistically fight each other, because in a perfect world, you see On the Hunt start, and then you see the Equalizer come down with the Cannon Barrage. And then it delays them just enough that once On the Hunt ends and the Ragnarok is over, then you get Death Sentence into Chain of Corruption, and all of a sudden the re-engage comes through with the barrels and the electrical harpoons and smoke screens. And then, there isn't enough real tank stats available for Zoe and Sivir to survive. So I feel like that's perfect case scenario for Black Mamba and SB Mirage. But we know these down and dirty objective fights can be much more hectic than that.
Yeah, and in a game where we just saw a Malphite go even in lane against a Mordekaiser, anything is possible, Doctor. We can sit here making lofty predictions about how things are going to go and get proven very wrong when things go very differently. There's a big element of just player skill and execution that's always hard to predict, and I think I agree that these comps are going to come down to execution a lot. It's, I think, a similar story in some regards to what I said last game about it being about pulling the trigger first. When you do see comps that are much better at engaging and going in and fighting than they are at peeling, kiting back, and disengaging or counter-engaging, then a lot of who wins will be decided by who can just go first. If you're in position, you're at the dragon setup beforehand, and you're able to fly against your opponents when they start face checking, then that puts you in prime position to win the fight and then win the objective and slowly start to snowball and win the game. I think we want to see that out of both teams. We'll have to see if Black Mamba learned from their mistakes last game, if they can be kind of on the front foot here at the objectives before they're available so that they can pull these fights off. Otherwise, Mirage looking to do the same thing they did last game. Repeat that performance, use all of this damage and just ridiculous amount of poke, range, threat at their disposal to secure another game and come out on top.
I think Black Mamba definitely has the tools. They have that long range Sleepy Trouble Bubble, the Bard ultimate as well, and it gives you that extra second to go for these long range plays. Interrupt that potential Equalizer play, catch the Rumble off guard with a Sleepy Bubble Trouble, or get that Zonia style ultimate down to set up the Sleepy Bubble Trouble. And then once you land one of those, then everybody else can follow up. Once you land something, boom, On the Hunt, everybody go in. It's almost akin to that Unstoppable Force go button that we had game 1, but with less damage.
Yeah, and the scary thing for Mirage here is that they have next to no mobility. They have movement speed on Rumble, a little bit of movement speed on Gangplank, and a short range dash on Graves. That is it. That is all they have going for them. So if they do get locked down, if there's a huge bear in their face, they're slowed by an Olaf Axe, they get slept by Zoe, they're in trouble. They're not really going to be able to get out. If they are not able to kill the members of Black Mamba that get into their faces, then they are going to go down themselves. There is no escaping from these fights for either of these teams. It is going to be kill or be killed, fight or get fought, and you need to be prepared to deal with anyone when they're running at you. I think it's going to make for an exciting game, if nothing else, though it also will mean it's very, very vulnerable to snowballing for either of these compositions.
And so we are going to prepare ourselves for that action by taking a short break. Stay tuned with us, folks, as we load into the Rift to see the potential final game here. But if you are a fan of Black Mamba Esports, hit them up in the chat. Let us see your congratulations. Get them hyped up and ready to take this to a Game 3, and we will be right back. Welcome back, everybody, for Game 2 of Risen Esports Divine League Week 3. We have SB Mirage on the blue side, versus Black Mamba on the red. I am the Doctor, being joined by the cool and refreshing Coleslaw. And talk to me, man. We're seeing completely different drafts, completely different gameplays as both teams are doing whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, this is... Oh!
We got a flash!
Oh! Yikes! Pro Dark, what are you doing? That's your flash. You need that, buddy. That's for ganking and killing people.
Pro Dark, more like Bot Dark.
Amateur Dark. No one knows, though, so not going to be punished that aggressively, supposedly.
I mean, I clipped it, so it's there forever. But
Okay, level 1 aside, where both teams invade as a 5-stack and find nothing. We've got some interesting lane matchups that we didn't get to talk about.
But the vision, Coleslaw. We actually have a deep ward from Black Mamba on the red buff. They know where Best Turtle is. They have no idea where Pro Dark is.
I think you can assume that you know where he is when you found nothing in the topside jungle and the Volibear is going to show up to lane way too early for him to have leashed. So,
Oh, no.
I don't know. I mean, we just saw trinkets used. It's Kino doesn't have a trinket available. I mean, you don't know that, of course, but the Havoc also doesn't have a trinket available. That's going to matter more when both junglers are padding towards the top side. That's going to leave Kino a little vulnerable. I think that's the end result of this level 1 more than anything else, is that when it comes level 3, you know, 3 minutes and 40 seconds, when this Graves is going to be looking to gank a lane, that Volibear will not be able to have a ward to spot it out. And if you're going to be pushing with your passive like this, that'll leave you a little vulnerable. Wow, that's some damage.
Oh! Speaking of vulnerable, both of these wet noodle top laners are just melting as if they were multiple al dente. But flash for flash means Kino is not going to be long, is going to go down for first blood, and it's only 2.5 minutes into the game.
Yeah, that's just way too much aggression from Kino, playing pushed up that far, tanking a bunch of Qs, tanking a barrel, and that's all she wrote. With the gangplank passes still up, Breast E-Boy realized that the kill pressure is there. Takes a lot of damage on that trade. Volibear just has so much upfront damage, but without the heal coming out from the W, it means that that's an easy kill as soon as there's a second shot. That means that it is just a free first blood. We already said the Volibear is going to be vulnerable without a ward. No ward necessary. Solo kill instead.
Yeah, and that's the strength of that Grasp of the Undying in this, you know, melee matchup. You know, being able to chunk for a percentage of your HP for free every time parlays up and getting a little bit of a heal and a little bit more HP. You know, you're not having that same type of sustain just yet from the Volibear.
Yeah, and the issue is that if it's a sustained fight where you're going to be scrapping for 10, 15 seconds straight, then the healing comes online because you can activate that W for 2-3 times and get a heal each time. But when you're about to go down and you only are able to use it once, no heal available. It's actually part of the champion's design that he doesn't have that built in. Make sure that he can't be too hard to kill. Fighting it for a sustained amount of time is a mistake there. But the Gangplank able to do it without making it that big of a risk.
I remember when Volibear first ever came out and his passive was this new exciting thing. It's like, oh man, you healed for 80% of your HP bar when you hit 10%, and it caught everybody by surprise. It was once we didn't have Grievous Wounds back then, really, so it was just super duper strong. And I'm curious what Kino's doing, playing so hyper aggressively, you know, really starting to fall down in these CS totals.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a sunk cost here. Oh, Tegan in trouble.
Tegan taken low, gonna dodge out on the death hook, but still gonna not be able to dodge the arrow. You can only dodge one skill shot per cycle, is what he's saying.
Oh, but, Kino in trouble again. Flashless this time.
Kino trying to go for a little bit of a trade. Doesn't want to go through that tri-push. Does get a little bit of healing, but Best Turtle has enough damage. Huge flash flay coming out of Havoc. And it is going to get a hook onto Lil Muzi as well. Both bot lanes gonna survive for now, though. But still City Warrior on this mid-rumble. Staying competitive. And that's all I got.
Yeah, What was Kino doing, man? Why are you playing so aggressive when you don't have flash? You've already given up a kill. The Grave shows up. I think there is a world where Kino could have just walked out. Instead, kind of did too much stutter stepping back and forth. Chose to go into the river instead of towards the turret. And that meant that the Graves just stayed right on top of him. And another death going down. So we see 2 lanes going pretty far behind here for Black Mamba already. 1 redeeming quality. Mid lane isn't lost. And the Olaf is still ahead of the Graves on experience. Got the dragon too.
Yeah, definitely going to love having an Infernal Drake as this very aggressive Volibear Zoe squad. We see Lil Muzi and Pro Dark making a visit to the mid lane. They are going to get a little bit of a pool party started. Little Moosey, though, making sure he doesn't get sunburned.
Yeah, and that's a good gank and good play from Steel City Warrior, holding the flash this time. We saw a lot of flashes burn when people were already definitely dead last game. Instead, this time, you know, when the Bard and the Olaf show up in your lane, you're ignited by the Zoe. No way you're out of there. Just got to accept your fate, take the L, and that means that there's something going right for Black Mamba here. They've got an edge somewhere, and it's going to be about trying to leverage that as best they can in this game. You see Prodark looking top lane, maybe trying to swing this lane back in a more favorable direction.
Yeah, there's no flash, excuse me, just yet. Oppressed E-Boy gonna drop down that cannon barrage, does have the orange at the ready. Jump in from Kino, is it gonna be enough? One more bear slap, it is enough. Gonna be able to survive the tower shot as well with just that Doran shield. And all right, Kino's on the board again.
Yeah, and that's a huge deal for Black Mamba, where that top lane was looking concerningly lost. Suddenly you get a kill, you get another assist on the Olaf, shove a wave into the turret, and you're not feeling too bad anymore. In fact, these top laners very close to even. It's only an assist that this Gangplank has over the Volibear, so not that big of a deal at all, not totally lost, and now it looks like Best Turtle in some trouble.
Best Turtle is not, holy moly.
You remember when Best Turtle was alive, 0.2 seconds ago?
No, I don't. I blinked, and all of a sudden, Likeable had an extra kill on the board. Actually, didn't even get the kill, just got the assist. Did 80% of the work, got 10% of the credit. But definitely worthwhile to give that over to Tegan. Getting a little bit more even in that lane thanks to the CS differential in their way.
Yeah, and that's a really good heads-up play from Black Mamba. They know with the top gank showing, the Graves is going to be in that side of the jungle, looking to counter jungle after the Olaf shows top lane. They know that it's going down. They collapse on it as a team, and that means that they're able to punish Best Turtle for just being a little slow to the draw there. Had he been in the jungle earlier to steal that blue, it might have worked out. Stayed a little too long, was there a little too late.
Ooh, all right.
That was a hook. That hook didn't connect, Doctor.
I think the Guardian bubble made the hitbox look slightly bigger than it was. I think that's a successful lollipop, not some of those dirty Nautilus hooks that we've been seeing lately.
Yeah, it looked pretty close to me, but I mean, can't win them all, and I don't think anything would have come of it anyway. That's a full part. Oh, Best Turtle in trouble.
Best Turtle getting a little over aggressive again, but Prodark not able to get a kill just yet. There is Likeable with the flash, though, and the equalizer does nothing for that fight. Prodark able to survive by the skin of his teeth thanks to the vicious strikes and the Conqueror ruin there. But, oh man, a quick 2-0 in the top river.
Yeah, and that's the power of the Olaf happening right there. When he gets low, he starts healing, he starts hitting fast, and it can get really dangerous if you don't have the damage to finish him off and get that execute. It was not there for Steel City Warrior, and that's really going to turn into a problem for this side of Mirage. They're getting quite far behind in this game. Already down 1.5k gold, down a dragon, and these lanes not going nearly as well as they were just a few minutes ago. Prodark getting in a ton of work.
Everybody talks about that blue side buff, but this time it seems like it is red side coming up strong. Sleepy Bubble Trouble gonna come through. The Paddle Star doesn't connect though, which means that Havoc gets to survive for now. We do hear the Herald sound going off on the back of our mind, which signals that Prodark able to secure yet another objective for the squad.
Yeah, and so though they don't come up with a kill there, Black Mamba, or still Black Mamba, yes, that's the team. Still on top, they do get the Herald. They bait out the Cannon Barrage from the Gangplank as well. So you're quite happy making that trade. You're getting something for your efforts, even if you're a little sad you don't have the Havoc dead. Working out, still growing that lead.
Do you see Turtle going back with Ocean Drake in 10 seconds? I have to imagine that Prodark is just beelining for that objective. It is an Ocean Drake. It's 2.5% out of combat healing, but you are not going to be able to heal through this one. Likeable going to pick up that secure, and I love this new Volibear ultimate. It's so much fun to watch. It's so much fun to interact with. Definitely when you are the one pressing the ultimate button, not so much on the receiving end.
I liked to play a lot more until Kino teleported up to top lane for 4 minions. It was really clean, and I had lots of praise. And then that happened, and now I have a little less praise.
But you're down so much CS already. You gotta do it.
Ah, but teleport.
No. Press the E-boy, gonna try and get the slow. They do get the flash dance out of Kino. Quick on that control 3. Gotta make sure that the dancer shoes are working.
Well, okay. Teleport for 4 creeps aside, the kill does still remove Mirage's ability to contest the dragon. So, Black Mamba quite happy with that as well. They're still growing their lead. Their Volibear has no summoners when I think he could have easily just still had both of them, but you take what you can get here, and what you can get is another dragon, another 500 or so gold on your lead, some serious pressure, and another plate in the mid lane. It's okay.
Things are slowly coming together. Looks like they are going to be trying to force down this mid-tier 1. Should be enough, I believe, for the Herald to finish off. Yeah.
It's 2 and a little more is what the Herald is able to do. I think that may well be the most perfectly timed. Ooh.
Taken. All right. I see you.
It's tricky to do. It's a very fast ability with a very small reaction window, but when you can pull it off, that's a big swing. You say, oh, you used your ultimate? That's my mana potion. Very well played. Now Nox Joe in trouble.
Yeah, Nox does not have flash, not able to get away from that ultimate. And they're just going to give it right over to Tegan. And that is the power of this Tempered Fate. Time and again, we see it used quite effectively. Death Sentence onto Pro Dark. But he's a big Viking man with a big honking meat sword, and he does not care about your stun.
Yeah, they're pushed up a little here. It looks like, oh, there's a Pro Dark. Wait.
Pro Dark gonna get a little bit of healing from his head. But the equalizer brings him down to his own level. And so we are going to see Kino going for a trade once again with the pressed E-boy. Whew.
That's a little awkward. When you see your Sivir pushed up at the turret, it's easy to just kind of not notice that there's no minions there. The Sivir's pushed. You think, all right, I can walk out through this turret. Like, my AD carry's been hitting it. It'll totally be fine. Then you end up accidentally taking 3 turret shots and dying for it, so.
Likeable. Paddle Star? Maybe. Man, this is so unfortunate coming on. Likeable. That was a lot of things going wrong there. But ends up going down big shutdown going over to Steel City Warrior. Sorry,
yeah,
Best Turtle.
Now it's a little sketchier for Black Mamba. They had a 1.5, 2k gold lead. It's starting to shrink already. Back down to 1.5. Given over a shutdown on your Sivir. You've let your Olaf die. Not quite where you were just moments ago from what can only be said are 2 pretty greedy, over-aggressive plays with 2 easy-to-avoid mistakes. So costly for Black Mamba. They're still in control, but those are the kind of things you can't be giving up if you want to close out a game in a clean way.
Speaking of giving up, we're starting to see a pretty decent CS advantage breakout in favor of Repressed E-Boy. We see a Trinity Force completed, Ninja Tabbies, and then we look over at the lane opponent Kino. And these items, I don't understand, because I was under the impression Lane Volibear built Trinity Force. And none of that is Trinity Force.
No, that's a Sunfire Cape and what we now know to be a Blade of the Ruin King. I was thinking for a moment there you might just have the Garage Sale to get towards the Death Stance, but no.
And so we do
fighting the bot lane.
The On the Hunt sound coming out. Tempered Fate going to disable that turret, and now we see the big Olaf once again. Not going to be too daring this time, however. Does have a little bit of restraint, and so Ragnarok, Tempered Fate on the hunt, and that's all we see.
Yeah, you just, okay, never mind. You know, burn our ultimates and then say, actually, on second thought, this is a bad dive. I mean, to their credit, it was a bad dive. It was a little over-aggressive with no minions there, with the undertow whiffing, just getting the hell out of there.
Equalizer, bringing everybody down to Steel City Warriors level just in time for the Drake to spawn. We see the Paddle Star fishing, but this is SBM in full control of the dragon so far. They do need to fight a little bit for it. but Tegan, likable, both not super healthy. Kino running down, get the teleport out of a pressed E-boy. But who is really gonna get this dragon? There's not a lot of ultimates available for Black Mamba right now.
Yeah, I mean,
So we do see Chain of Corruption going out, Flay and all, but Kino deep into the backline, going to pick up one. Steel City burning and churning into the backline himself. It is a 2-for-2 trade so far. Best Turtle on the run from the big scary Lightning Bear, but Kino not perturbed, does have to fight through a tower if it comes to it. But one more hit is all it's needed. Oh no, Kino. Where'd all your friends go, buddy? Oh, press the E-boy gonna secure that one. But it looks like the Cloud Drake should be going over to Black Mamba, and it only cost them 3 lives.
Yeah, it's a 3-for-2, and Kino kind of the MVP there, over chasing the Graves, soliciting the response from Mirage. They see it going down, and they collapse on it. But while they're doing that, ProDark says, screw my top laner. I want this Cloud Dragon, man. Just takes it right from out underneath Mirage's nose. And I mean, it's worth, right? Like, getting to Soul Point and only going down 1 kill as part of the trade for it. Like, you take that any day of the week.
I think Overwatch fans call that a Cloud9. I think would be the closest interpretation to what we have here outside of like a Baron play. But no, I mean, it's right. You only trade effectively your top laner at that point, because before that it was a 2-for-2. Dragon was in a neutral position, and then Kino just goes all the way deep and makes sure that they have to respond to it. That's a lot of damage.
That was a healthy Varus just a moment ago.
Yeah, I mean, people say Zoe's in a good spot right now.
You know, I disagree with those people a little bit, but I'll let them think that.
I mean, to be fair, if you have to look at the health of champions right now, I feel like there are much worse offenders than Zoe at the moment.
Yeah, and I mean, when you eat the max range Battlestar, you eat the max Battlestar. That was no sleep or anything. That was just Noxio getting plunked from a mile away. Have better jukes, you know? That's I think what most people would encourage you to do there. But
if you can dodge a spear, you can dodge a star.
Exactly. And if you've been playing against Nidalee for this long, you can play against Zoe.
To be fair, I haven't seen a Nidalee in like 6 years, it feels like. I do know that there was a couple played professionally last week, I think, in like LPL.
Yeah, the buff to the spear on Nidalee has gotten her almost back to old territory a little bit. If you've ever seen those clips and highlights of like Season 2 Nidalee throwing a spear and one-shotting someone.
Oh no. Kino finds himself in a bit of a 2v1, gonna get equalized down a little bit, and Best Turtle's able to secure that. But meanwhile, on the other half of the map, big damage coming out onto that tower. 3 members and a Herald. Actually, Herald, due to a recent Twitter poll. We do see Death Sentence connects on the ProDark, gonna eat a tower shot as well, going super duper low, but they get the Herald charge out, and they're just gonna disappear.
Yep, so they get the 2 bonks, they get the turret. It's overall a trade of top outer and some damage on top inner for the top laner yet again. Kino just dying for the cause time and time again here. Every time the Volley Bear dies, it's Black Mamba taking something on the map, so totally okay with that. I mean, with how strong they are, they need to be making these trades in these ways. It just keeps working out that way anyway.
Temper Fate goes out but doesn't connect. Another big paddle star onto Best Turtle, but now jump in Little Moosey getting the slow. Kino making his presence known with a thunderous clap. And so Noxus Joe going to throw out the collapsing chains, but this unstoppable Olaf is just ripping and tearing through the entire team. Triple kill for him, and the base is under siege soon.
Yeah, and a cosmic binding from Lil Moosey sets that up perfectly. ProDark, all he's got to do is run in with the Ragnarok and play cleanup duty. That Olaf's basically a janitor in that team fight. A little too much aggression from Mirage. They were pushed up. The teleport came in from Kino as soon as he respawned, and they found themselves caught way too out. Oh, goodbye. See ya, Turtle.
It's nice knowing you. Come again later.
Well,
see you next time.
That's an ace, a delayed ace, and a Baron. And now Black Mamba looking quite good. There's a Dragon Soul spawning in 45 seconds. They will be there with plenty of time to spare. They have the Baron to buff themselves up. All ultimates going to be available, so this is going to be do or die here for Mirage. They're going to need to win a fight. It's going to be hard, though. They keep finding their abilities, they keep connecting, and it's just not working out for them. Their composition starting to fall a little flat here with no good, reliable engage or frontline.
So the last time we saw a team get a Baron, though, it was consequently followed up by a wipe in which they lost 4 of their 5 Barons in a pretty catastrophic team fight. Now, we don't quite have the same level of volatility as, Wukong or Orianna, but it's there. Havoc, though, with the homie Blast Cone, sending Prodark over there to start up that Dragon Soul. Tempered Fate and Cannon Barrage gonna go out. Sleepy Trouble Bubble not gonna land on anybody, but the Dragon's already at half HP. It's now or never. Best Turtle over the wall, gonna get stunned. Blue team has stolen the Dragon. That is Noxjo coming up huge for the team. Over the wall goes Prodark, gonna be able to go on a killing spree. Noxjo goes down as well to his enemy 80 carry, and so it is a 3-for-0 with the Dragon going over to SBM.
Yeah, this is going to be a costly Dragon. They deny the soul, which is super important. You do not want to give a soul over to Olaf, Volibear, and Sivir as well. So it's totally worth it. You basically lose the game if you give that up, but it's going to come at a cost. You see Prodark pushing down mid lane. You see the rest of the team pushing down bot. The Baron is here, so it's going to be a lot of gold going to Black Mamba. They lose the Dragon. They get a whole lot of other things. Hard to be too sad about that. They'll have another chance in 5 minutes.
Do you think losing Cloud Soul ends the game?
I do think that.
Or do you just think that unlocking Elder Soul is the key there? Likeable, though, is going to have to put that thought on hold. Getting caught by a stray death sentence, and the name being oh too true.
Yeah, that's called being alone in the enemy jungle without your team. That's,
meanwhile, Prodark.
Yeah, meanwhile, Prodark just going to knock on a ton of structure.
But no, I mean, I do want to ask you about the Cloud Soul then, because, it is only bonus move speed once you proc your ultimate. And when you compare it to some of these other Elder Drakes, it definitely doesn't feel as impactful.
Yeah, it's one of those stats that doesn't feel like it's going to just automatically win you games. And especially on a composition that already has a lot of movement speed, actually maybe there's an argument to be made that there's kind of diminishing returns here. A Volibear ult already gets you on top, so does a Sivir ult, so does an Olaf ult for that matter. But I think it can just make kiting away that much more difficult. You've already seen clips of Olaf's running at people at Mach 1, with a Cloud Soul it turns into Mach 2, and it's just that much more difficult. You flash away and he's in your face a second time. Noxjo going to have a terrible time against an Olaf or a Volibear with Cloud Soul. I think that's what you have to consider. Maybe it's not automatic because it doesn't give you that immediate combat strength, but it does enable you to take and get away from fights when you want them and when you don't want them.
All right. Death Sentence over the wall going to connect, and the big collateral damage coming on through to secure that one. And all right, a little bit of dipping and diving, but we get another kill in favor of SBM. Mirage trying to get something going.
That volleyball went right through that gangplank. Beach ball. Right? Like, you saw that too, right?
No, I actually didn't. I was too focused on the death sentence.
Flew right dead. Anyway, we just see pushing. It's a little slow right now. The Bard dying means that Black Mamba have to pull off the accelerator a little bit.
Havoc fishing again.
Yeah, this Thresh is keeping Mirage in the game. I can say that much. We've seen several picks in a row now that are just buying time, keeping things going, and I don't know.
Right.
Got to keep looking for more of that.
Dragon in a minute and a half. Baron in a minute and a half. Is a pick now worth it?
As long as you're not burning an ultimate that won't be available. I mean,
right. On the hunt.
Mamba think it's worth it.
We get the flash. Here comes Lumuzi through the wall. Fantastical journey. Not gonna lead. Oh man. Oh, the huge death sentence from Havoc, but it's not enough. Not enough damage coming on through onto Likeable. But oh man, what was almost Noxus Joe's demise?
Yeah, that came close to backfiring. It's just the fact that Portal Jump is a blink, so if you get hooked on the front end, you do end up going right back anyway. Just not quite enough burst to punish this Zoe. And so Black Mamba going to keep the push right where it is. They've just been pressuring and keeping Mirage off the map. What that does is it does make it very, very dark. You can see that aside from a few pink wards in some opportune places, there is no vision for Mirage anywhere. When this dragon is up, they are going to be going into it totally blind, and that can make things dicey.
And they could guess wrong, right? Like, there is a world where Black Mamba doesn't go for the Cloud Soul right now because the Baron's going to be up at the exact same time. And so it turns this choice into a 50-50 for SB Mirage to be like, do they value the Baron more than the Soul, or vice versa? We have a 50-50 shot at figuring out where they're going to be, and we have to commit to that decision. And so it looks like they're committing to the Baron thought, but there was already a ward there.
Yeah, and there's a Volibear going on the base, and this is where things get almost impossible to play. As long as Black Mamba don't throw here, they can force this macro. Only one person needs to be on the dragon, so you can do this thing where you keep your jungler on the dragons and the rest of your team to deny the Baron. When you're behind, you can't start the Baron and then try to fight the 4v5. Baron just does too much damage. It's kind of worth a champion or two if you're the ones in the pit tanking it up. And that means that Soul is free, and now it's going to be Baron on the menu for Black Mamba.
Cannon Barrage goes out onto the Baron. Gonna delay that a little bit, but you still got to deal with Kino. You know, Blade of the Ruined King completed. Sunfire Cape completed. Spectre's Cowl completed. Teleport available. Like, who deals with this Volibear? That's a lot of damage, actually. That's a lot. Death Sentence gonna get shielded. Nothing else gonna come out so far. Tempered Fate gonna go... Oh, it actually lands on the Nox Joe! But the Binding Fate was a little bit mistimed, but all right.
Back onto the Baron. You know, false alarm, false alert. Didn't need that one. We'll try again.
Yeah, I mean, they have an Ocean Drake. They have enough built-in sustain. It's down to half HP. This could be the game-deciding fight. Havoc taking blow. Flash in from Kino is going to land right onto Noxtro, who gets taken out. Equalizer straight down the middle, but it is not enough damage. We see Havoc going in, just trying to delay the team from getting on through, but they didn't even take the Baron. I thought they took the Baron. That is so unfortunate. They do go down 3-0. Now the Baron shortly after. Best Turtle gonna... Oh, no. Oh, no. Best Turtle, what are you doing, my man? Dipping, diving, waving, dodging, flashes over the wall. Definitely not going to be able to get that steal, though. It's still so healthy. Pro Dark has a GA available. They're really going to hope they don't need to use it here. And they won't. But second Baron of the game going over once again to Black Mamba.
Very interesting tech there. Pro Dark has to walk and just stand still in that one part of the Baron pit where there's no cannon barrage. The thing is, you can't smite while your GA is going. So if you die to the cannon barrage or the Baron, then the cannon barrage actually has a chance of stealing that. For a moment there, I thought it might turn into a disaster for Black Mamba. Pro Dark finds a spot to stand, stays a little healthy, is able to get the smite, no problem. And now this is a Cloud Soul, this is a Baron, this is against a team that has very few summoners available, and Black Mamba can look to push for the win. We saw it happen there. The Cloud Drake plus Volibear and Olaf both just running at Varus. There is absolutely nothing Noxio can do. He has a stopwatch now, and that's really the best defensive tool he can hope to have. We'll see if it can keep him alive. It's almost hard to believe that it will, but it can buy a little bit of time for the rest of the comp to do something.
I mean, it's tough, right? Because even with a stopwatch, you have a couple seconds of invulnerability, but your dream is that your team kills everybody in those seconds of invulnerability. And I don't see a world in which that happens just yet. A pressed D-Boy needs about another 2 items but to be even considered a threat. So it's just tough to see a world where they survive. Nox Joe going to break that stopwatch for a split second, but again, Ohm Wrecker, pretty strong. Cannon Barrage goes down in the mid lane. Flay going to connect on to the Sivir. Death Sentence on a Pro Dark who just Ragnaroks up and it is going to go 1 movement speed
So
like
fast.
a man. Gonna get the disabling tower. Triple kill for the Olaf. Was simply moving too fast for the champion to even be controlled. And that is going to be game 2 going over to Black Mamba. They're going to tie up the series 1-1. And we're going to go to game 3, folks.
Yeah, it did not look like we were going to get a game 3 after that first one, but Black Mamba adapt. They pull up a different comp. They play a lot more proactively. There were some missteps here and there, but they're able to close the game out with a soul in just 31 minutes. So not a bad game by them at all. And that means we've got a really interesting game 3 to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a different, type of gameplay came out. They really sacrificed Kino in the top line, in order to get that bottom lane ahead. And you can see how strong that became. Tegan on the Sivir, not having to deal with that Ezreal poke this time, just able to completely run down Noxjo's Varus. And you kind of have to hanker back to that pick ban where they hovered a Sivir ban and then said, nah, we're going to ban Kassadin instead.
Yeah, and suddenly you have Tegan going 10-1 on Sivir, having a ton of farm, providing that utility with the on the hunt to get that beefy front line in, just basically serving to speed Pro Dark up in these team fights and let the Olaf do that much work. And I mean, it works out. Noxjo had a terrible time that game, not through any fault of his own, but just because what are you going to do as a Varus when you have an Olaf and a Bear running at you so quickly? It was what we expected. The team that goes in and is able to play aggressively is going to be able to win those fights. Black Mamba Esports playing on the front foot that game almost all of the time, and that means that they come out on top.
Unfortunately, you're just left playing Gray Screen Simulator. But so as we head into game 3, we are going to take a short breaks, folks. So now that we have the teams tied up 1-1, it is up to you, chat. It is all your energy that is going to determine this victor. Players don't matter. It's all the chat's fault. So get those spirit bombs ready for your teams. We're going to head to a quick break and get them ready to launch as we start game 3. We'll be back in a second. Welcome back, everybody, to the Risen Esports Divine League Week 3 Best of 3 between SB Mirage and Black Mamba. Here we are, folks. Do or die, winner take all. This Week 3 matchup has gone the distance. We're in Game 3. I'm the Doctor, being joined by Coleslaw, and we are right into this pick ban phase.
Yeah, and we see a ban that's different from the side of Black Mamba already. They banned the Ezreal first, not wanting to pick it, but not wanting to give it away either. And we were talking between games about this, and I think I agree with that pick a whole lot. Or that ban a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Nox Joe. Looked a little bit better on that Ezreal than the Varus. You ban away that strong champion. You don't necessarily need to pick the Varus because you've already proven you have the counter pick. You have the Sivir. You know what to play into Varus. And so they just finished their ban phase. Nothing out of the ordinary. But SB Mirage banning out the Volibear this time.
And that leaves Soraka top on the menu, something that Kino has played an absurd quantity of. And I think it's something you have to consider here. It's not really something you want to pick away to deny it, so there's no rush to first pick it, but that might be in the cards for this game, Doctor. I'm curious to see if Black Mamba decide to pull it out.
I'd love to see it. I do think that it, despite popular opinion, by the way, I do find it enjoyable to watch. I can understand from a competitive standpoint why it's unfun to play into, but having played it myself and watched a ton of it, I think it's enjoyable. I think it can be fun to watch because there is a lot of intricacies that go into that, because you obviously can't pick it blind because then you end up into like a Renekton matchup and you just get bonked. But if you can get your opponent to pick Ornn, then all of a sudden it's the best lane ever. So I think there's a lot of intricacies there that both teams are really gonna have to think about. Sylas Kai'Sa being that first rotation from SB Mirage. We've seen the Sylas already. Worked out very effectively, and we're finally going to see the Kassadin as well.
Yeah, and I didn't get to say it, but I really don't like the Sylas this early. Of course, it was what worked for Mirage in Game 1. It was the pick that they rode to victory, but it was a counter pick. They knew what they were leaning into. They didn't reveal it too early on in the draft. And when you do show the Sylas this soon, it means that you're going to give a lot of information. And you see with the Kassadin and with the Sivir, it's just not really ults that Sylas wants to steal. In fact, it's 3 for 3 ults that you don't want to steal. That's a Yasuo.
That is indeed a Yasuo pick. And so I can really see SB Mirage leaning into this wibbly wobbly timey-wimey style of draft where they're like, we know you guys have the counter picks, we're just gonna pick a ton of stuff and wait until we get into game to let you figure it out what you got to lane against, and at that point you can determine if you've actually counter picked us or not. So I don't know, honestly. Is that a Yasuo bot lane? Is it a Yasuo top lane? Is it a Kai'Sa jungle? Like, I don't know. I have no idea.
I don't think it's a Kai'Sa jungle. It's really not a great draft idea. When you show both your solo lanes this early, it has to be because you're hiding something, right? Like, you have to believe that there's a jungle pick or a support pick, evidently, that's less worth showing than the fact that you're picking Yasuo. And when you do pick the Yasuo, it means that immediately you see the Krakus and Malphite ban, just denying that Yasuo synergy. And that means that you're almost forced shoehorned into this Alistar, which is actually a Nautilus. Makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, why would you pick Alistar when Thresh is available, Nautilus is available, Lulu's available? But no, Nautilus makes a lot of sense. Not that Alistar's a bad pick, it's just that it's a bad pick. So now that we have our full ban phase through, serious. This draft phase is just throwing me. I'm so gone.
Now, it makes sense. I hate to say it makes sense because it's Darius. It does. It does.
He's just strong though. Like, he's such a good pick. I feel.
Well, and he has a really good lane. It doesn't like send whoever you want to send top. Send the Sylas top, send the Yasuo top. Darius wins that lane anyway. And critically, it's just another ult that Sylas can't steal at all. And that means that out of all of these ultimates, on like Mamba, he can only really steal Trundle ult. That's the only one that's like actually good on Sylas.
You can definitely steal Decimate. Wait.
No.
Oxy Axe.
No. It's terrible on Sylas.
But if you delete the Kassadin, when you compare teams, like if you can delete Kassadin, I feel like the team fight's over. Unless we're at 500 CS Sivir, if you delete Kassadin, it should be a pretty easy fight. You still have Yasuo, Jax, Kai'Sa. Like
the issue is that Decimate, it doesn't ever go to true damage on Sylas. You can't stack the Darius passive, and you can't get like the 5-stack max damage. You always only get the minimum damage with a decent AP ratio. It's not going to do much more than like a Kassadin Q would do, and that makes it a pretty terrible steal on the Sylas.
All right, I'll give you that one, but it is a Sylas jungle.
Are you sure it's not a Jax jungle?
No, I'm really not.
I'm not sure either. Doctor, where are these champions going?
So without looking at champ select, I'm gonna predict it. It's Jax top, Sylas jungle, Yasuo mid, Nautilus, Kai'Sa bottom. And I'll wait till I hear the champion select sounds stop before I actually look. But to me, that makes the most sense because Jax is a little bit tankier than Sylas. You don't have to be in as much danger to, try and sustain. Like Kingslayer puts you straight up in Darius's face, so he's gonna just blow you up at that point. Jax is a little bit safer. He has a getaway option with the leap strike. So I feel like it's the safest of your three options. And Sylas jungle is still pretty good. It's not bad. It's not amazing, but it's serviceable.
Well, from looking at Champion Select, it appears as if you're correct. And I think this means that we see some flex picks going on once again from the side of Mirage. They're taking the Sylas and saying, "Ooh, it's going to be Sylas mid because we won with that game 1." And then as soon as the Kassadin's locked in, they say, "Oh, no, we're sending Yasuo mid lane into the Kassadin. That's a good matchup for the Yasuo." And then it's like, okay, well, maybe it's Sylas top, and Darius can win that matchup really hard. He doesn't give Sylas a good ult to steal. He wins against Yasuo, and they say, "Oh, no, that's Sylas jungle. We're sending Jax top." Lots of cheeky flex picks. I think the issue is that now you have a Jax top, a Sylas jungle, and a Yasuo mid.
Is that an issue? My solo queue games beg to differ.
It's a solo queue comp. There's just not that much synergy. Like
the synergies were gonna kill you.
It's a lot of damage. Sylas can set up a Yasuo, I guess. It's unreliable. He has to actually connect to the E in order to do it. When he gets that stun, there's that little tiny itty bitty knockup where you're able to actually follow it up with a last breath. But that's going to be very hard to connect onto a Kassadin who will always have a Rift Walk available. Anytime Sylas goes to E him, like we're just gonna say, I'd rather not get hit by that ability and go somewhere else. So
I choose not to die and just gone.
There's just not that much synergy here. They drafted around winning these 2 solo lane matchups by showing and then flexing around, but that means that they have a really bad bot lane because they had to get the Kai'Sa and it's been countered by this Sivir. The Nautilus is okay, but it's not doing a whole lot, and they don't really have a team identity. Whereas from the side of like Mamba, I mean, it's a Sivir comp. You have a Darius and a Trundle. You press R on Sivir and you run it. It's like the Dunzo Manifesto all over again. You just group and you press R and you win.
It's very true, and it is very difficult to try and combat that type of game style because you are always on the back foot. Like you are never, 99% of the time, you're not gonna have the agency to be the aggressor there. Because if you try to aggress, if you try to use that depth charge to get the Yasuo started, or you try and just run Jax into them, then you just get Bard slowed, you get Trundle pillared, you get, on the hunt procced, and everybody just runs away from you. It's just so tough to try and use these strong tools that Mirage have effectively, because there's just so many ways to be like, no, thank you, please, from Black Mamba. And it's going to be up to SP Mirage to get the things rolling. It's on them. All the pressure is on them now, because like you said, Black Mamba just get to hang out and press one button.
Yeah, and they have the scaling too with Kassadin. There's so little peel, there's so little reliable CC on this SP Mirage comp, where if Kassadin hits 16, he's going to run wild. It's not to say that the Black Mamba Esports comp is amazing. The Darius top is a spicy pick for sure. I think it was picked as a counter that ended up not being a hard counter. Kind of probably wishing you had something else going on there, but you do still have a Kassadin, and that's kind of all that matters, because Kai'Sa has no peel. It's super hard for SP Mirage to do anything about likable in this game if they do not close it out that quickly. With this super solo QE comp, I mean, you just need to use your solo lane priorities here. Flex picked, you've swapped, you've put a Sylas in the jungle, which is just not a good pick right now. If you're not able to win these lanes because of all that drafting shenanigans, you're not going to be able to win them.
So we are going to kick it off to our last and final short break of the night, folks. We are going to get these champions loaded into the Rift. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with Game 3 of SP Mirage versus Black Mamba here in Divine League Week 3. Here it is, folks. Game 3 in this best of 3 between SB Mirage and Black Mamba Esports. Both teams won a piece. I'm the doctor with sweet and tangy coleslaw on the desk. And now it is do or die time for these two teams. Winner take all here in week 3, coleslaw. Talk to me. What are we expecting?
I don't know, man. Like, we saw some really good drafts in game 1 and 2 from at least one of these two teams, and then this game happens, and it's just what's going on? Like, we got a Darius, we have a Silas jungle, there's a Jack, there's a Yasuo mid, there's a Yasuo mid with no Gragas. It's Kaisen to Sivir, it's chaos, it's mayhem. Where's the Ornn? Where's the Varus? Where are the picks that are actually good?
Listen, I am a #1 Ornn simp. You can go back across the last month of my commentary, and time and again, I'm begging teams to pick that champion. It is tier 0. You can't get a better top laner. It's just, why not pick it? But you know what? This game brings to us, coleslaw, fun. It breaks the game back down to its barest essentials, and these players just want to have fun with it. They're not try-harding. They're not sweating it out. They're just down and dirty, having a good time.
That's one way to look at it. I'm not going to try to think about it any harder than that. You know what? Because that is a nice positive spin put on this. We're going for the chaos drafts. We're doing some cheeky strategies that you wouldn't see elsewhere. We'll see how it works out, you know? I mean, it has the potential. If the Yasuo into Kassadin matchup goes off, Yasuo does have a good lane there. You know, maybe it works out great. A little less optimistic about Jackson to Darius. Not an amazing matchup for the Jacks. It was what they chose to go for, but
it is a bit bloody. It's tough, I feel, to have a good pick into Darius right now. The champion has a lot of good things going for him. We see the level 2 break in favor of SBM in the bottom lane. But I feel like, again, Darius is just kind of good right now. He's not super oppressed by a lot of the meta tops, even with a decent matchup into a lot of them. It's just tough to really do what beats him.
Yes, it's very true. And he's super good early no matter what. Is the Sivir Pizza invisible for you too?
Yeah, it's gonna make this game that much more interesting because it's only on the boomerang blade, not the bouncing blade. So interesting, but we do see a gank in the mid lane. Likeable already flashing away, but then walking back forward again. Okay. But we do see big stun coming out onto Kino. Oppressed E-Boy, though, learning what it means to face God Kings. But the Tornado not going to connect in the mid lane. Flash out of Steel City Warrior as well. Very quickly, mid lane is flashless.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what Steel City Warrior was doing there, taking a big trade with Likeable in the middle of a minion wave with a population the size of China. Just so much minion aggro causing problems there, and what should be a winning lane suddenly, oh wow, that's a lot of people. Likeable, you're gonna get out of there. Uh-oh.
Oh man. Oh man, the lollipop coming on through from Havoc. Gonna be enough to secure first blood there for themselves. And now Nox Joe forced to flash in the bottom lane in this 2v1. And I feel like that mid lane gank is my fault. I was talking about it in game 2, how egregious that Nautilus hook is. And that was a perfect display.
Yeah, it's an interesting roam. It's definitely a good way to turn around that bad trade that was taken. You say, oh no, Yasuo is getting behind in the lane that we really, really need him to win. So what's the answer to that? Let's 3-man the lane at level 3, send the Nautilus up, and just go give Likeable some serious business. And I guess it works out. It's a trade. The kill, unfortunately, does go onto the Havoc, whereas the trade back goes onto ProDark. So though it's a little more gold for the side of Mirage, I think you're quite happy if you're Black Mamba saying, well, our Trundle's gold matters a whole lot more than your Nautilus's. The 100 First Blood gold not going to be a big enough difference to make up for that. So, unfortunately, not the best of plays, especially when it costs your bot lane some more pressure and a summoner spell. gosh, the boomerang blade being invisible makes this very hard to follow.
What's super omega doubly unfortunate about the scenario you just posed where the Nautilus gets first blood but then gets traded back by ProDark is that anything Nautilus builds is tank stats, right? Like, he wants to be this big, beefy man of the deep. And what does Trundle do? Negates it, steals those stats away, and takes them for his own. So it's just doubly unfortunate that those are the way the kills fall if you're an SB Mirage fan.
Yeah, and it's also the case that Nautilus is really going to be the best target for much of this game. Eventually, Jax can get towards building resistances, especially if you're able to Trundle ult a Jax while he has his own ultimate going. You steal away some of the bonus resist, and then when the Jax ult wears off, he ends up incredibly squishy. But if the Jax isn't there, if he's not quite building those stats yet, then Nautilus is the prime target. And that means that ProDark, yeah, he's going to be picking up extra stuff, just stealing from the Nautilus and saying, oh, you got fed? Thank you for all of the extra armor, my friend.
Thank you for your contribution to the Troll King re-election fund. And now we see Steel City going in again, now the level 6, but instantly forced to turn around. We do see him trying to run away, but it's not enough. The long-range Kobe dunk coming on through from Likeable.
Havoc, what are you doing?
ProDark trying to get away is going to be quite successful for a second, but will eventually go down. And now Havoc gonna be doing some stuff and some things. Gonna be able to survive, though. And things are looking a little bit shaky in the mid lane.
Yeah, it's a kill going over to the Kassadin. That's really bad news. Oh,
Kino.
Hi, boy.
Kino not going to get the healing boost from his Q, but did get to the true damage. Big daddy boost there, and just drops the axe down, and there's not much you can do at that point.
No, once you're getting hit up with a Darius ult for 500 damage, you lose that trade. As I was trying to say before, Prestige Boy just got solo killed. A kill going over to Kassadin this early is really bad news for Mirage. You're trying to win this lane, and now you have an O2 Yasuo and a Kassadin who's getting accelerated. It's one of those things where if you can trade in a way that gets kills on Kassadin, you're very happy. You want to accelerate the game state, get him towards level 11 and then 16 as quickly as you possibly can. And Kassadin just so much more of a hyper carry than the Sylas is, especially when the Sylas has so few ults to target and steal. You're so happy that Likeable is actually getting out ahead of a normal itemization curve, going to be on the front foot, especially if you're going a greedy build, where I'd expect Roa absolutely the first item. We might see a tier come in after, so speeding up the acquisition of the items is a huge deal.
Tegan gonna have great usage of that spell shield. Oh man, everything. Even the minions are against SBM right now. Really struggling here to get anything done. But you're right, this Kassadin getting some room to breathe, being able to build out these very expensive, greedy items. Kino gonna go offensively, gonna drop down the Trundle Subjugate that was stolen by Best Turtle, but they're able to just disengage after that.
Yeah, and that's the one good ultimate to steal on this Sylas, so unfortunately, Best Turtle now just gonna be sitting there a little sad about that. He uses his ult to poke Kino a little bit. Not really the ideal situation there, and it's good by ProDark to be there to defuse that gank. You don't want to take the sustained 2v2 when Kino has that ult coming up very, very soon. It's hard to keep track of that timer exactly. You're worried, you know, you're asking yourself, okay, like, killed the Jax, how long ago was that? Was it like 100 seconds, 130? I'm not sure. Better to be safe than sorry, because if that backfires and you give up double kill, you may as well be saying G, and that's the play that Mirage choose to make, and it's hard to fault them for that.
Yeah, nobody wants to take that 2v1 against the Darius that's already 1-0. You do have to be thankful as a Prestige boy that he decided to build defensively instead of just going all in on damage. Steel City Warriors thinks they have a favorable trade. Flash over the wall from Best Turtle. ProDark gonna try and chase it down with that Subjugate. Not quite enough damage. Little Moosey. Putson is on way up to the mid lane, bringing a couple Penguin friends.
That's a couple flashes traded. Best Turtle, kind of funny there. Misses the E, so he's not able to come over the wall with the chains. Just kind of says screw it and flashes over instead. As soon as Likeable Rift walks out, that's a little bit of a backfire there. Pro Dark does eventually have to flash as well, so it does end up a trade, but it's a trade that costs Steel City Warrior just more health, and Likeable able to get back to lane soon enough. And I mean, this Kassadin is doing just fine. Down 10 CS is by no means a huge problem. You're content with that. Looks like we got a dragon fight brewing.
Up and over the wall is that red squad. Little Muzi going to be able to magical journey on out. Tegan super low, but Tempered Fate coming on through. Steel City Warrior finding out what it means to be a god. Kino slaying him down with the giant axe. Best Turtle trying to get something for their trouble, but it's a tough world to be in as an escaped magical convict, especially when you got Cosmic Reaver Kassadin trying to put you back to the void, and one more will do it. It does get him off the dragon, though. Keeping on with the latest possible dragon, or first dragon we've had all series.
Yeah, a lot going down. It's 2 kills for 0. It's a kill on the Kassadin again. He's actually got a bounty now because of these kills. It's a kill on the Darius. The dragon doesn't go down. It was actually Mirage that were on the front foot there. They had more members there at the start of the fight. They blast coned in. They looked for a moment like they were going to get something really good when they blast coned onto Tigan and Lil Muzi for the 3v2, but it's a fantastic Tempered Fate that defuses that, and with the teleport from Kino and a roam down from Likeable, it goes from good to bad real quick for Mirage. The one consolation prize, while that was happening, the Jax in the top lane has no teleport, so he doesn't have to feel bad about not following. He just gets to sit there and clunk on a turret, ends up with 4 plates for his troubles, and that actually makes up almost entirely for the kill gold that goes over.
Yeah, being able to be up almost 2 entire minion waves plus 4 tower plates for a grand total of 640 gold in tower plates alone. It actually gives him a almost 400 gold advantage over the Darius, which... do you feel good about? Do you think a dagger advantage right now is what you need to win the game?
I mean, you take an advantage if you can have one, right? It's better than not having an advantage. But
Sure.
A dagger is not going to win you this game. No, you need to be winning much harder than you currently are if you are the side of Mirage, and if your Yasuo is disconnecting, that makes the game a whole lot more difficult.
Yeah, we might meme about Yasuo only needing 1 button, but you do still need to be connected to the server to be able to put that 1 button through. So we are quickly back out of the pause. We did hear the Herald sound going out just a moment ago. Pro Dark going to be picking up that one for his team.
Yeah, so I'm going to sound like a broken record. It's 13 minutes. Mirage has no lead, and when you have no lead against a Kassadin that's already level 9, you're losing. And that's a problem.
Up until they're losing, they're winning though, right? Isn't that how that works? Lots of damage coming on through. Steel City not gonna land with the tornado. King's Strike gonna come on through. Tempered Fate gonna keep Steel City alive though. Mega unfortunate. There it is. Little Muzi coming on through with a little bit of help from his friends. And we do see a double kill going over to Likeable before he ends up getting shut down by the team there. But they still have the Herald available in the mid lane.
Yeah, and it's a double kill on the Kassadin. It's unfortunate. He actually could have Rift Walk out. He got hit by the very last tick of that Silas Q. And that's what takes him down there. Had he Rift Walked in a direction as opposed to just staying right where he had been, I think that actually would have been a 2 for 0. But you take that 2 for 1 any day of the week. They choose not to drop the Herald, so we'll see what they have planned for that. They also choose not to go for the Dragon with the enemy jungler and mid lane dead, so a little not sure about that from Black Mamba. I think getting an objective on that trade would have been the name of the game. Still, it's an advantage.
Holy moly. That is freaking absurd. Tegan with the god tier spell shield, but Oppressed D-Boy going to dodge out on the Q there, but not tanky enough. And hold on. I need to go back to that spell shield. It was from a bush. The Havoc was in a bush. They had no vision. And he still spell shielded the dredge line.
There's no justice in the world, Doctor. That was a crazy good spell shield. The reaction time there, fantastic. Just not going to be able to get out of that anyone anyway. When you use your spell shield on the dredge line and then the depth charge comes flying after you right after, you're going to die. You're going to go down, you're going to die, somewhere in between the two. That means you're going to die. And answered with a kill in top lane. This Darius just keeps being problematic. I mean, it's a weird pick, but it's working.
So there's definitely a weird Guy Fieri joke to be made with your fumble there, but I am not quite quick enough to come up with it. And you're right, the Darius, I don't necessarily feel it's an odd pick because we've been seeing quite a lot of it recently. But when you looked at it contextually in the draft, it was a bit odd because you didn't know 100% who your lane opponent was going to be. And then when your opponent thinks they got that tricky counter pick with the Jax, and then the Jax just kind of gets bopped and goes down solo twice to it, it's really tough to see. And now, once again, the gank coming on through. Oppressed E-Boy going to get pillared back up, dragged back in, apprehended by the God King. And that is going to be the Herald call. They have so many people on that top side. Bard's up there, too. That's 3 members plus a Rift Herald. Nox Joe, though, going to go ultimate in, but it's just barely enough to go 1-for-1. And top tier 1's going to go down for first brick.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there. Lots of different things happening. A trade of 80 carries 1-for-1 is, I mean, I guess that happens. The kill top lane, super sad for Oppressed E-Boy. It's actually Best Turtle that just finished the recall before the gank came in. Had he just sat there and stayed, maybe things go differently. I'm not totally convinced they win that 2v2, but they would have at least had the opportunity to try.
No. Oppressed E-Boy making the bold decision to try and kill Shelly before the charge happens onto the inhibitor tower.
He did kill the Herald, to his credit.
Mission accomplished.
Yeah, if your mission was to kill yourself to deny a Herald bomb.
Blue team gonna go ahead and get the first dragon of the game now, 17 minutes in.
Doctor, but I don't know. I'm running a little low on words after that one. 2 turrets down top lane, they get a drag. It's a 17-minute for dragon. It's a little late, don't you?
So it is late because previously they've all been about 7 to 8 minute dragons for the first dragon. And when you look at the map state at first dragon, it kind of tells you how the rest of the game is going to go. And so previously games were even at first dragon. That's the Havoc going in on a dredge line. Going to be able to survive up through the tower. We do see Best Turtle stealing the Tempered Fate and Visible Pizza Cheese coming on through to Nox Joe.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate reality of missing a dredge line when there's terrain behind your target.
Tempered Fate go through. Great spell shield on the dredge line, but it's not enough because it sets you up for disaster. That was a pretty sexy combo, I gotta be honest with you. That was good to see.
Yeah, it's when you're able to land 2 abilities right on top of one another, not at the exact same split second, but just spread out a little bit. You actually see the spell shield eats one, but as long as one of the 2 connects, it's a kill. And so the dredge line that gets spell shielded and the Tempered Fate that means that Taigen goes down. It's actually a fun bug, or not so fun bug, where I believe if your abilities do hit in the exact same frame, the spell shield can absorb both of them. Very hard to do on purpose even, but
they did actually fix that bug.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they fixed it last season actually.
Ah,
because
I missed that in the notes because it just never happened. No one probably
yeah,
cared.
it's super. It was such an uncommon bug that when it did occur, you were just thinking that you were godlike because you're like, I just dodged everything. But no, it's actually the spell shield doing all the heavy lifting. Thankfully, though, no longer in the game. But all right, can no longer interrupt the Herald Eye Break, which I think is unfortunate. I think that was a nice little part of the interaction, being able to interrupt it. But it is going to go down, not going to take the tower with it. But I can't imagine it's long for this world. We do now see the team fight going in. Last breath going to land onto Likeable, who is already super tanky. Gonna Rift walk in. Here comes Nox Joe trying to trade one. Gets the kill on Pro Dark. Here comes the Tempered Fate, keeping Likeable alive. This dude's so tanky. And it is a 1-for-0 in favor of SBM.
Yep, they do get the kills, but they actually lose out on the health bars. You see basically everyone having to go back to base after that one. Nox Joe also having to go down bot lane to catch the wave. And that means that despite the fact that they don't come out on top, Kino is going to be able to suicide for this turret.
Worth?
I mean, that really was a suicide for the turret. They just decided to die. That was a 400 gold bounty. I don't know if that was worth.
Didn't say it in all chat, so I gotta be honest with you, it's not worth.
Yeah,
but
you don't say it in all chat. You can't say it's worth.
Exactly. I believe the default keybind is Shift Enter for all chat. So just hit that, type in worth, hit enter again, and all of a sudden it's all gone. It's like teething.
To any of our viewers who may be in, bronze, silver, gold, if you've ever done that thing where you kill yourself to try and kill the turret, even Diamond 1 players vulnerable to that decision-making process every once in a while. The turret gold it's so tasty. You see it, you're like, oh, it's so low, I can just get that turret.
Just one more wave.
And it's just
famous last word.
You just get sunk into it, You just can't convince yourself to pull away. You want that turret and you want it now. And if you give over 700 gold when you die, all right. Don't do that though.
So as we reevaluate map state, we do see Likeable joining his buddy Kino in that mid lane. Oppressed D-Boy gonna be forced to flash away, but now we got a full break on team fight. Tempered Fate into the backline. Steel City Warriors now in a 1v2. The traded Tempered Fate stolen by good old buddy Silas, trying to keep Steel City alive. But as we've talked about, can't run away from Likeable.
Can't run away from a pause either. It's a split second that kill comes down. We get a pause. Our mid laner.
So
we get an all chat where they write the Yasuo death office if you see.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a connection issue there. Diving in 1v2 against the two most fed members of the enemy team. I hate it when my router just, dies a little bit and that happens. But we do see some R's in the chat, so we should be going into it shortly. And I believe that was just a 1-for-0 so far in favor of BM.
Yeah, and I think if they hadn't chased the Yasuo and had gone down instead, they might have been able to pick up 2. It's just killing a Yasuo, much like sticking around and killing a turret. Killing a Yasuo just feels so good. Sometimes you gotta say, no, I don't want the 2 kills. I want the 1 kill as long as it's Yasuo. And with that pick going down right before Dragon spawns, that means that this is Black Mamba's for the take.
It is very cathartic.
Wait, they were sitting on a pink ward.
No, I think that was just put in there. Yeah, that was just put in there.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I was
but
about to say.
It is very cathartic. I'm struggling with this word to take down a Yasuo. Tegan forced to flash away. No, just heal, sorry. On the hunt, though, gonna doom Nox Joe as we see the rest of the team coming on in. Nox Joe's actually gonna survive, able to start putting out some damage. Havoc's super tanky as well. But now Best Turtle healing up. Havoc eventually gonna go down to Likeable. Flash in, double kill. Gonna be going for the triple, but Tegan's gonna steal that away. Press D-Boy getting a little bit of gold for his troubles. Can they get more? Oh, huge pillar coming out there from Pro Dark to keep his 80 carry alive. Oh no, E-Boy, what have you done? You're too deep, my friend. Turn back! Turn back! He had AirPods in. He couldn't hear me.
I am a little worried for this Jax right now. We're seeing some play that doesn't look like there's much of a sense of self-preservation going on. And what? Kill? Worth?
Last breath?
Nope.
Oh!
Last go?
Last coat. It's not gonna stay alive.
He's so dead. He's so dead.
Had that been any champion besides Yasuo, you just run away and you just question mark ping all chat and you're just like thinking. but no, just Kassadin things. But so they get a kill finally onto Steel City Warrior, and again, if solo queue is any indication, then it's game over. Congrats to SBM being able to turn this game around with that one kill Yasuo. They
He
do
just 4 more deaths.
Yeah, they just got to put the cherry on top.
Yeah, it's as soon as you hit 10 deaths, that's when it is. I think the issue is that even though the 10 death Yasuo power spike is known and famed for being one of the most potent spikes in the game, it's just still not quite as good as the level 16.
Noxtro going a bit deep there, forced the ultimate out, is going to be able to get the kill onto Prodark, excuse me. So Noxtro able to run away, just going to sacrifice his support. Pretty common here on the Rift, but they are able to trade 1-for-1 support for jungler.
Yeah, Tempered Fate there, a bit of a grief. Not gonna low. Not Joe doing a bit of grief.
Joe, my buddy, guy, friend, what are you doing? You got away with your life. Sometimes you just gotta count the chickens before they hatch and continue running away.
All right, it's mid-outer, it's killing Yasuo. Sometimes you just want the frog too, you know? Like, that frog, he's a pretty cool guy. You gotta kill him every once in a while. A lot of gold. Who doesn't like killing frogs? A lot of people, probably. It's like animal.
Wait, what? What?
I said who doesn't like killing frogs? That's my question.
Yeah,
I would kill a frog. If you saw a frog, would you just kill it? I don't think so. No, that'd be rude. But Gronk,
I didn't even take anatomy class in high school.
I never did either. I avoided that. I actually called in sick the day that we dissected frogs. There's a team fight going on, Doctor.
Oppressed E-Boy, gonna get 1, gonna get 2, actually. Things are slowly coming together. Likeable now in a 1v3. I think he can do it. He has that Zhonya's available, gonna be able to get away, but huge turtle, actually, with that chain whip. Gonna be able to keep him locked up, and Oppressed E-Boy gets a 3rd kill this fight. And what was disastrous ends up a plus?
Yeah, Baron? Baron. This Mirage can do Baron. There's no counter to this. They just get it. It's theirs.
Do they? They do.
Yes. Yeah, no, there's no one anywhere close. There's no Jinx ult, there's no Ezreal ult, like that Baron.
So things have taken a turn.
Yeah.
If you're a Black Mamba fan, you are Concernicus. You are really thinking about the decisions your team has made to get them to this point, and you may be left wanting. You may be entertained, but you may be left wanting.
You don't want to give up Baron, obviously. It's a pretty powerful objective if you've ever heard of it. It does a lot for you. It gives you some stats, it makes your minions really hard to kill. Against a comp with low wave clear can be super potent. This is Tegan's time to shine, fortunately. They're just gonna fight.
Just gonna run at him. On the hunt gets procced. Huge stun. Gonna connect on the best turtle who has that. Zhonya's gonna go in. Tempered Fate onto 3. Last breath onto Kuno, who is gonna go golden. It's all coming together. 1-for-1 so far. Steel City flashes away. Likeable though. Shining, gone. It's now Oppressed E-Boy forced to jump away. So far, double kill. 2 for 3 in favor of nobody, but all these health bars are so very low.
Yeah, and it's a messy, clumped up fight where Kassadin doesn't totally shine if it's just a very, very dense death ball where he's at risk of getting CC'd at any point in time. 1 or 2 more Rift Walks would have sealed the deal. If he was level 16, that is an easy win fight for Black Mamba. Instead, with 15, the ult cooldown just not quick enough, and the death ball just a little too powerful from Mirage, and they're the ones that are able to come out on top with health bars just slightly higher, and with Likeable in the base, they get the dragon. It's unfortunate. I mean, if you're Black Mamba, just wait a little bit, man. Get your Kassadin into 16. You're in no rush. Just chill.
Just hang out.
Get him that bot wave. If he hits 16 on this wave, that's when you pull your Sivir ult, and that's when you go for the fight. That's all you need to wait for here. I don't get why you don't just use the Sivir to wave clear.
Hands on to the Darius. Last breath coming on through. So much damage from Kino. Tega gonna go and pick up 1. Gets 2, 3 kills already in favor of Black Mamba. Can they get more? Oppressed E-Boy, so very deep, is gonna go down. Triple kill for Tegan. Best Turtle NA trying their darndest, but it is an ace for Black Mamba. And that's what you were talking about. 1 more Rift Walk makes the difference.
He wasn't even in the fight, Doctor.
No, he got 1 kill.
he cleaned up the Silas after the rest of his team won the 4v5.
Is that
That's
No.
I think it's game. I think we spent so much time worried about the Kassadin. So naturally, as soon as the Kassadin hits level 16, they just win a 4v5 team fight and win the game. Because why else would it happen any other way? They're not gonna end the game. They're gonna back out. They don't want to push it.
those death timers were pretty short.
They were kind of short. Baron's gone.
That team fight was...
It was Sivir damage is what it was. It was Tegan just going uninterrupted, just throwing a boomerang blade, ricochet, just melting the Mirage comp, and with no one getting onto Tegan until the very end of that fight. It was a disaster.
Darius was pretty up there too.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was the two of them.
Yeah, I mean, when you get 4 members and they get all hit by the bladed part of your axe, that's a big bit of chunky damage. And then you get boomerang blade, bouncing blade on top, and you are not winning that fight. I don't care who you are. You could be Malphite, Nautilus, Ornn, Galio, middle sticks. You're not surviving.
Yeah, and that's a Sivir who is at 75% crit with an infinity.
Oh no,
edge.
Havoc! Oh no, Havoc! What are you doing? Tempered Fate onto 2. No Last Breath available. Traded Tempered Fate again. Now Last Breath goes out, but everybody's still very alive. Likeable gonna get out. Taken on a rampage now, and there's not enough damage from that stolen Darius ultimate. Best Turtle goes down to Little Moosey. Likeable staying alive. Double kill for Taken, and that's a 4 for 0 in favor of Black Mamba. Close it out for me, Coleslaw. I'm done. Going home.
Oh no, the redemption kill. It doesn't matter. It's gonna be a game for Black Mamba. I don't think I've seen that happen ever before. Poor Likeable just goes down. We're just nay-ramming it at this point. The team's just said, you know what? We got macro game. We don't need that. We'll take the 5v5 fight. Against a level 16 Kassadin, against the Sivir, these pumped up fights never going to work out for Mirage. They go down. There's a little bit more KDA padding to go, but the Nexus does fall. Black Mamba secure the reverse sweep, if you could call it that, in the best of 3 series. They lose game 1, but come back, take a game 2 and game 3, both in 30 minutes in a convincing fashion.
And yeah, that is Black Mamba 2-1 victory over SB Mirage, excuse me. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, game 1 was super dominant in favor of SBM. Game 2, super dominant in favor of Black Mamba. Game 3, I feel like we were on a bit of an even keel. Draft was a little bit wonky, but then Likeable just started ramping up, and it kind of just got away from him.
Yeah, and I think the Sivir also provided just a ton. You can go look at the graph and look at Sivir damage. It's not quite as much as the Kassadin, but you have to remember that Sivir spent about 25 minutes of that game AFK farming in bot lane, so all of that 28,000 damage came in like 2 or 3 team fights for the most part for Tegan, so it was just a lot of work from that pick once they got to that crit break point. Those 2 champions just doing the work, and with a Trundle and Darius in the front line and a Bard to throw out, Tempered Fates were... I mean, I would have to break down those team fights and play them at like quarter speed to figure out if I thought the Tempered Fate was good or bad. But either way, when you've got that much power on your team comp, you've got that much scaling, you've got a Kassadin that's ahead that much, you're going to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, and when you get 2 Tempered Fates per team fight going off, it's hard to keep track. But that is going to do it here for us tonight, folks. That is the Risen Esports Divine League Week 3 matchup between Black Mamba Esports and SB Mirage. I've been the Doctor, joined by Coleslaw, sweet and tangy as he is. And so we are going to close it out here for you tonight. Any final words, Coleslaw?
That was a fun series, Doctor. Thank you for casting with me, and thank you to Mowgli the Cat for producing for us. Have a good one, everyone.
Definitely shout out to Mowgli the Cat producer. We saw him doing some shenanigans in the game 3 pause. So thank you for that. And we will catch you guys next time.